Esports Racing League. For the first time in a couple of years, it's time to answer the age-old question: who is the best? Well, hi folks, and for one final time in the regular season of the 2026 Esports Racing League Spring Cup, it's time to go racing. We've transitioned across 3 different platforms already. Let's throw one more into the mix. Welcome to the ERL 2026 RaceRoom, and my name is Arjuna Kankipati, joined alongside by Lewis McLeod as we get ready to whittle down our teams down to the final 4 that will compete in about a month's time in the final showdown. Lewis, should be a lot of fun as we break out the 1995 Alfa Romeo DTM machine, and not just a throwback in car, throwback in track as well.
Yeah, really looking forward to this one. Obviously, I've been fairly close to the RaceRoom platform for quite a few years now. A lot of the guys behind the scenes that have put in a lot of work to bring this platform to where it is. It is, you know, of all the platforms racing, it is quite an old one. Obviously not quite as old as LFS where we started the season, but it is an older platform that kind of consistently gets brought up to as modern spec as it can be. And every time you speak to some drivers, you know, your likes of your Moritz learners and stuff, every time they come back to this platform, they're like, oh, it just races so well.
Netcode in particular is one thing Moritz has told me that he likes about the platform. Let's talk about the format very quickly. 2 heat races will divvy up the teams into each of those. Top 5 from each advance direct to the quarterfinals, while the remainder of the teams, for the final time in this season, head to a second chance race, Lewis. From there, we head into the knockout stages, quarterfinals onwards.
Indeed, obviously knocking it down into those semi-finals where we'll have the top 3 teams moving through into the final, all to do battle. If you've not joined us through ERL this season, rather than the best of 3 final that we'd had before, where 2 teams would go head-to-head to try and win 2 of those to secure the round, now it is 3 teams. The best point score between those 3 teams will be the winner of tonight's event. And of course, even like the final, as it is across the evening, it is your top 2 drivers that will be scoring points for you.
You mentioned that RaceRoom by no means the oldest platform that we're competing on. We were delighted to welcome Live for Speed into the equation to open up our season. Mix up onto consoles as well with Gran Turismo 7 iRacing last time out before mixing it up with RaceRoom. The final round now going to be online rather than in person. We'll see what exactly is going to be in store, but the last garage has been our traditional final of recent memory. We'll see if it continues to play a major talking point for 4 of our teams, Lewis. So let's talk championship standings and the playing field as we enter the final running of the night. Here are the teams themselves, of course, with some of the big names, the likes of BS Plus Competition, the Williams F1 Team Gaming, but of course, defending champions, EMM Esports, but one more championship round left to go.
Yeah, indeed. Like you say, you've got those 4 that are above the cut line. Got to say, it's been a really good season so far for TC Esports. You can see there, the one team that I would be focusing on a little bit tonight. Not exactly sure as to who's driving for them, but it should be Code Nikolakowski and Tomasz Ribeiro, I'd assume, would be 0 Point Racing. They are way down in the points. No chance of them being moved through into our final. They are here tonight to win, and that, to be fair, quite a few of those teams that are way below the cut line, they're just out here for a little bit of fun. The reason I say that 0 Point might win, if they do have Latkowski, who we saw in the opening round, they do have Tomasz Ribeiro, who we saw again earlier on the season, they are going to be a very strong contingent this evening.
And I think the unpredictability that will bring is going to be interesting as well. Let's talk then about the track today, because we've said it's a throwback, but one of the unique things about this 2026 ERL was the pick and ban system, taken of course from traditional esports. 10 tracks enter the mix, and the top 5 in championship standings first go through the ban phase. Get rid of Adria Raceway, Diepholz, Monza Grand Prix, and the Nürburgring Grand Prix track, and then Norris Ring completing the ban phase, we head into the pick phase. All 5 teams now get a chance from the remainder to have their pick as to where we go racing. Silverstone Classic, Hockenheim Classic, and Interlagos, the 3 tracks that initially saw some favor, but ultimately the tiebreaker, Hockenheim Classic, having the #1 pick in the standings, able to rise to the forefront of everyone's mind. Lots of drafts, Lewis, going to be at play as we get set for the racing tonight.
Absolutely, and yeah, I've commentated on RaceRoom a few times already this year, and I've already commentated pretty much on this combination, and more so with the Super Tourers and stuff, and Hockenheim Ring Classic 3 times already this year. So you know, it's not a it's not a throwback for me, but it does mean there's a few drivers out there that have run this layout quite a few times. At least you know in the Super Tourers, certainly more towards the front wheel drives and such in those rather than the all wheel drive Alfa that we've got out tonight. Great track for racing. Obviously, you've got the chicane that we're looking at here around the back end. You can effectively use the slipstream around this back stretch of the circuit when you're going out into the forest. You can switch positions like minimum 3 times a lap. That's before you get aggressive going through the arena section. We're going to be seeing a lot of position switches and very, very hard to break away at the front.
And so into qualifying we go for the very first time. No draft at play in qualifying, Lewis. How important do these qualifying sessions now become, knowing that the draft is going to be so paramount to working your way through these short races?
I think it is important because as much as you know, we say that overtaking is relatively easy around here, what you'll typically start seeing, rather than breakaway solo drivers, you'll see breakaway groups. And so that separation, you want to be on the right side of that. I don't think it's imperative to be right at the absolute front, but being somewhere in the top 3 or 4 rows is going to be really, really important. Drivers to keep an eye on in this session. Obviously, I said about Cody Nikolakowski, Tomas Ribeiro. You can see the Macedonian, the Portuguese driver there in the middle. Bo Dixon, who's at the top, quality driver here on RaceRoom. You've also got Isaac Price, who was effectively, in my opinion anyway, the champion of DTM Esports in 2025. Ended up not winning the championship courtesy of... he got punted in the season finale, was the champion leader in the season finale, got absolutely destroyed and decimated, ended up not winning the championship. He's been absolutely phenomenal this season, of course. Visceral winning in the opening round, finishing runner-up in the last one as well. Keep an eye on this team this evening.
That experience as well for some of these drivers might come into the forefront when you go on to some of these slightly unique cars, as much as some drivers may enjoy throwing them around. Your knowledge of the platform becomes increasingly important. Into the final sector comes Isaac Price, and we'll get the benchmark. Just 1 qualifying time allowed, and effectively pressure built for these drivers to avoid the scramble of the LCQ, Lewis. Get it done in qualifying and start yourself at the front.
So Bo Dixon sets a time that's immediately beaten by Page. Walsinger up there, Sentiment up there. Here's Isaac Price across the line up to second, behind Tomas Ribeiro. Thibaut Casman in the 4th position. Karekis then finds his way up into second. Of course, Isaac Price's teammate Abinakal up to 4th position. We're seeing Jack Balding through the final corner. He showed some great speed on Gran Turismo. Can he show it here on RaceRoom?
To the line. 5th position for Jack Balding, and looking right now, trying to figure out where the teams are in the mix. Looks like Visceral 3rd and 4th. They're running quite well. Latkovsky's lap only good enough for 10th, and then works his way into the grass out of the first chicane.
There's the Yes Motorsports car of Lagukas, who are one of a few drivers yet to set a time in this session. Frisia and Marcel Chinchik, interestingly. Few drivers out of position. I did mention Bo Dixon, Code Nikolakowski, only 10th position. Yuri Toman, of course, one of the drivers for our leading team, or one of our leading teams in the championship. The points at the top of the standings, by the way. Vitality, 66 points. Williams F1 Team Gaming, 66 points. Visceral, 64 points. TC, 60 points. Below the cut line, BS Competition, just 1 point below it, along with EMM, who will be out in the next heat. We need to see some good qualifying times coming in from BS competition, or rather a good race coming in from BS competition, because qualifying is pretty much done.
Yeah, and I'm looking at Vitality, Marcel Chinchik starting down the back. It's been an up and down sort of run for that team, so I'm curious if they can keep themselves out of trouble. Last thing they'll want in what is the smaller of the heats. We'll have a slightly bigger field for heat number 2. I would assume the last thing that they really can afford to do here is get themselves some penalty points and put themselves in that second chance race. Kind of a reminder of what their 2025 Esports Racing League season ended up looking like.
Yeah, indeed. See if the Lithuanian driver has any solid lap time to put onto the board. Obviously, you only get one lap in the qualifying session. 19th is where he is, only up to 7th ahead of Naylor and Roy. Frisia and Chinchik both will not set a time in this qualifying session. You only get one lap. Track limit excursions around the Hockenheim Ring Classic. Probably easier than even the modern layout when you can run wide at T1. I know you can run a little bit wide to a gravel trap here, but you've got those chicanes where abusing track limits. Unlike on some other platforms where we've raced, like Wrenchport, when you get the slowdown penalty for exceeding track limits, and here your lap's just invalidated straight up. So, Tomas Ribeiro, who has been the form man on this platform for the last little while, will start on pole position ahead of a trio of Visceral cars, which is going to be, I'm sure, terrifying for him, and obviously the lead driver from the Visceral team, at least as a whole throughout the season, probably Isaac Price at the moment. He's the one that's going to be starting third, directly behind Tomas Ribeiro.
Helps if I unmute myself. I thought you.
It does.
I figured that out at this point as a commentator, but I think for Visceral, this is really an opportunity they do not want to let slip through their fingers, and I think it's a great opportunity to start this one off on fine form, locking out row number 2.
Well, here we go. All the cars are in position. 21 of them. Tomas Ribeiro for 0 point will be starting from pole position. Alongside him will be Karekis. It's all Visceral on row number 2 as we go racing for the first time this evening and the first time in this series on RaceRoom. Good start from Karekis. He might take over the race lead from Ribeiro into the opening corner. A solid run down into that opening turn. We'll leave it as a Visceral car at the front of the field. Then you've got the 2 Viscerals behind that. We've got Jack Boulding in 5th position for BS competition. There's a couple of other ones. The BS cars are trying to make up the moves. Ribeiro back to the outside of Karekis as we work our way down to the opening chicane. Can he make a move around the outside? It's going to be done before we're even into the braking zone. The Visceral cars are all going to line up with each other. Will they trip up over each other? Not at the moment. It is Ribeiro back to the front.
This is a lot more NASCAR-like than anything. Coordination between teammates. Bit of a slide there from Aidan Walshingham as he powers down out of the clock curve and down to that second set of chicanes. Trying to defend now as we single file ourselves out. But you saw how quickly they were able to fan out on the run down to that chicane, Lewis. Just that indication of the draft at play and how aggressive some of these drivers are going to be.
Indeed. There you go. You can see up onto 2 wheels with Bo Dixon just getting ahead of Aidan Walsingham there. Another one of those 0 point drivers. They've brought a trio of RaceRoom specialists to the occasion, as Aidan Walsingham's going to try and get back underneath Bo Dixon. The 2 British drivers fighting over 10th position. They're going to be joined in the fight by Azar as well, who will get to the inside before they get under the brakes. Rolling down the back stretch, getting squeezed out wide is Bo Dixon. Straight down the inside as well comes Yuri Toman for Vitality in the bright yellow car. He's trying to make the move up to 12th position. Aidan Walsingham up to 11th. Kalef was able to get through into 10th in all that.
And so, looking right now, of course, we know Visceral sit in a great position, but where is BS Plus competition? Of course, 1 point back from the top 4. The goal for all of our teams leaving tonight is to be in those top 4. Doesn't really matter in which order you are, though. As long as you're inside of the cut line, you'll have an opportunity with which to fight. The rest of the BS Plus cars, Jack Boulding, Marco Pajic, then in 7th. As long as they don't trip over anyone else around them, Lewis, in very good position. Aidan Walshingham needs to stay out of trouble.
Very much so. I mean, look, that is the name of the game at this point. Of course, it is staying out of trouble as Tomas Ribeiro drives basically into the back of his teammate Isaac Price. I'm sure. Sorry, yes, his teammate. Obviously, it's Karekis and Isaac Price that are teammates. It's the 0 point driver of Tomas Ribeiro who just tapped the rear end of Isaac Price there. You can see a switch in the back of Thibaut Casamon is going to get past Jack Boulding. This is the slipstream games that we're going to be talking about. So the two teammates of Price and Caracas were just bumping each other a little bit there, coming down into the first chicane. And so Ribeiro was not able to go for a move. Meanwhile, in the background, we were seeing some switch of position with Kazwan getting through. Now, that means that Balding and Pajic could potentially do what we're seeing here from the race leaders, start working together. And I do believe you are going to need to work together this evening if you're going to make anything stick. This will become very prevalent in that 9-car finale.
This format is, especially tonight, proving to be interesting, and maybe that's what the teams were thinking about, is knowing that you had more of a chance to come back from issues with another team fighting with someone else. Whereas if it's a one-on-one, you have issues, very difficult sometimes to put yourself in a spot. For Vitality, by the way, tied with Williams F1 Team Gaming, they can't afford a slip up here. Yuri Toman, Marcel Cinchik slip past Abe Santenamo, who dropped to the tail end of the field, but one drop from either of them, and Vitality are staring down that second chance race.
Yeah, I mean, it's really not where you want to be on a platform like this. You know, you don't want to be in that second chance race where only 2 teams progress, 5 from this one. You want to be on the right side of that, as Cody Nikolakovsky trying to keep Balding at bay, who's dropped down now to 8th position. Kalef's directly behind before we get Aidan Walsingham, the third of the BS competition drivers. You've got 1 in 6th, 1 in 8th, 1 in 10th. Of course, team boss Florian Harsman did celebrate his birthday just a day ago. And there comes the move. Jack Balding back down the inside of Cody Nikolakovsky, was out wide through the final penultimate corner and then final turn. Well, he did a Nico Hulkenberg then. Thankfully, there's no drag strip and it's not wet, otherwise we would have been in the barrier.
How different this track looks in modern days. Oh, a couple of our drivers taking wide liberties with track limits, but able to slip back onto the track, albeit with plenty of momentum stolen from their cars. Jack Balding's dropped down to 8th position, has allowed a handful to slip through, and that's the price of these mistakes, Lewis. We talk about the draft and the need to play games, but one slip up and wheels into grass, you lose all your momentum. Balding's now with his teammate, so Walsingham has lost out to Marcel Cinchik as well. The Zebras going backwards.
Yeah, indeed, and the bright yellow Bumblebee of Vitality moving forward. Marcel Cinchik aggressive there. Meanwhile, behind, you've got Yuri Toman going side by side with Bo Dixon. Just because they're bright yellow does not mean they're teammates. They are fighting over each other. And there comes a move to the inside. Yuri Toman making it 3 wide with the 2 BS competitions. Backs out of it. Allows Jack Balding to come back through. That was very scary. And Aidan Walsingham is the one who's lost out in all of that. Down to 13th position under pressure from the Mackey's Mobile of Florian Zimmerman, who has been knocking at the door, trying to find his way past. Well, that's making me think that I need one by the end of the night.
Getting us hungry, that's for sure. Not quite World Cup fever, it's DTM fever right now. Walsingham sees the contact in front of him, has to lift off the throttle in response, and he'll drop 3 positions as a result of that through that chicane, just on the wrong side of the track, as the car is able to slip through up the inside.
Do you know what? I'm actually thinking now, the more that I'm looking at this, we were talking earlier about how important qualifying is. There's Aidan Walsingham down the inside of Azar, trying to get that one done, and will get past the Malaysian driver. It's not necessarily that I think qualifying is the most important, but it is important. But I think qualifying close to your teammates, that's what I'm seeing here. That's what I'm seeing as being the important one. Aidan Walsingham back to the inside of Florian Zimmerman, who is out wide. Aidan Walsingham will get through into 13th position. Bit of space ahead of him to try and close his way up to Yuri Toman. But unfortunately, he's not going to be getting a major punch from the slipstream. 1.1 seconds up to the Czech driver directly ahead of him, and I think Zimmerman might be able to close in. Same with Azar. Well, here's what I said about the teammates. Look at the front of the field. Caracas, Price, and Abby Narkle. The trio of Visceral cars, all in one pack here, all taking control of this opening race of the night, and all showing every single driver and team, if you are going to win tonight, you've got to work like this.
And tell me that doesn't remind you of something you'd see something out of NASCAR, right? With the teammates able to work together and control one of the lines down one of the long straightaways. For Marcel Cinchik, did he start down the tail end of the field after not setting a qualifying lap, or did he punch in a late effort? Because whatever the case is, moved his way up the field quite remarkably, and he's proven that you can make moves. So even if you struggle to qualify near your teammates, Lewis, which I agree is important, at least one driver has shown the clinicalness needed to make the moves without losing too much time.
I think if you are going to make those moves, it's confidence and aggression above all else, right? You need to get... I mean, think about this era that this came from, 95 DTM cars. What were we talking about when it comes to DTM or to touring cars back in the mid to late 90s? You know, this era, obviously Group A even a little bit before this, Super Touring a little bit around it as well. Gotta say, it's always elbows out, bit of door banging, bit of pushing, bit of shoving. Get out there like it's a boxing match. And I kind of think that if you're going to move your way forward, yes, I'm not saying punt someone off the road, that's mental, but you've got to make the progress, you've got to fight, you've got to work for it to get your way through. And great to see these Visceral drivers 1, 2 and 3. Great to see, by the way, liveries on the car, because as much as we were saying last round we won't get liveries, because I've commentated on a lot of RaceRoom, done a lot of league stuff as well. The fact that RaceRoom have worked so brilliantly with VCO behind the scenes to bring these liveries onto this stuff, it's not as simple as it is in you know, your iRacing. Like, there has been a lot of work that's gone into this. So kudos to all the teams and to the RaceRoom squad, to Christo and all that have brought this onto the platform, because this is mega.
It's because you said that we weren't going to get liveries, and RaceRoom had to come and jump into the mix and make sure that it was going to look as great as it does. And great effort from some of the teams out wide from Kalef as we sweep through the Clark curve. He's going to drop back into 10th position behind Jack Balding, who's back up to 9th as a result of that. Real mix-up here, I think, through some of these chicanes. Once the field got separated a little bit and you weren't totally compressed with one another, we've seen a couple more mistakes and drivers being put onto parts of the track where maybe they don't want to be. Kalef's going to lose out to Toman, but fortunately for him, not to Dixon as well, who's going to hold station for the time being. Never mind, Toman has to back out of it.
Indeed, just a little bit of elbows out there for Yuri Toman. Do you reckon he's woken up a little bit later on in the day here? Yuri Toman, maybe he's still feeling a little bit tired, working his way back into the race. Obviously, he's got the South Korea Czechia match coming up at 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock for him. I don't know if he'll wake up for that, but he's certainly awake enough, at least for this race anyway. Hey, for the Vitality driver.
I remember when, you know, growing up in Singapore Champions League matches were 2 o'clock in the morning. So, you know, you do what you must to support the team. Around the outside is
World Cup. Come on.
True, although maybe not this World Cup. Down to the arena section. I think in the last 90 seconds, big spin from behind, and Flores Zimmerman's going to lose a whole bunch of positions. Excuse me, that's Bo Dixon, I think. But what we are also seeing now, Lewis, is there are some drivers who clearly are struggling a bit more with the balance of the car, and boom, right on cue, someone loses the rear.
Look, this is not an easy car to drive. Any car in this DTM 95 pack, they're not easy cars to get around the circuit. They're raw, they're brutal. You know, they do dance around a little bit. It's not like, you know, flying around in an absolutely planted car. And I think that's been one of the things of this season. All of the cars that we've raced this season in the VCO Esports Racing League, none of them have been downforce planted vehicles. They've all had a little bit of work about them. They've all had a little bit of dance about them. And I think, you know, exploring that a little bit is beautiful. We could race in modern cars here. We could do another GT3 race here on RaceRoom, right? But it's just a bit boring. These are special. We don't get to see these out in action that often.
No, and I've got to say, track maybe is a bit more interesting than initially I had feared. I did realize there would be some draft games and whatnot, but very impressed by Marcel Chinchik's drive up through the field, closed on his teammate Thibaut Casabon, so Vitality should look good to move forward. BS Plus, I think, alongside of Visceral as well, who ultimately are the team that's shown us the most. And might they leave tonight as the #1 seed heading into the finals? Only time will tell.
I mean, they're looking good for it at the moment. You're absolutely right. Visceral are in position for it. 0 Point are in position to move through BS competition. Vitality, we're not sure who that 5th team will be at present. We do have our favourites at the moment. Will it be a Visceral 1, 2, 3 though? Tomas Ribeiro is desperate not to hand that one back over the team as he goes back around the outside of Isaac Price. Price goes in deep here as we head into the stadium section. The 0-point car gets the upper hand and will steal the podium away. It won't quite be the 1, 2, 3, but it still will be maximum points only the top 2 drivers can score here in the Esports Racing League for each of the teams. And for that, for Visceral, it is going to be a 1-2. Karakas will lead Abby Narkle across the line to dominate the opening race of the night. Superb performance. Tomas Rivera will drag his 0-point car onto the podium with Price, Pajic, Kazavon, Chinchik, Nikola Latkovsky, Boulding and Toman rounding out the top 10.
Fun first race. I think we've got some teams from heat number 2 now already wondering what it's going to be like when we stack a couple more cars onto the track, because 21 in this heat of 27 in heat number 2.
There's your, obviously, provisional race results. We'll get you updates as to where this puts everyone teams-wise. But, importantly, you can see 2 Viscerals, first and second up there for Karakas and Abby Narkle. You've got the 0-points cars running in 3rd and in 8th there, Ribeiro and Nikola Latkovsky. Obviously, Isaac Price, 3rd of those Visceral cars. Pajic in 5th position, along with his teammate in 9th. So they're scoring decently. Vitality with Kazvon and Chinchik in 6th and 7th. Yuri Toman as well, the 3rd of the Vitalities, rounding out the top 10. So only 4 teams in those top 10 positions. That will mean that, at least looking back on this, I believe it'll be Referox who will be the 5th team to move through, with Kaleth's position and Zimmerman's position in 11th and 14th. Aidan Walsingham there in 12th, with Assar, of course, in 13th. Then it's Simon, Sentema, Roig, Neela, Dixon, Lagukas, and Frisia in 20th position. The final running car. Ignore the fact that Bo Dixon says that he's driving for Dur Esports. Yes, he is a Dur Esports driver, but tonight he is representing 0-point. The final one will be Gabor in 21st position. Solid opening race, though, but I think Visceral have really, really slapped the gauntlet down onto the table.
Have to wait and see now if there's any strong contenders in terms of drivers from RaceRoom in heat number 2. Of course, defending champions EMM Esports, all eyes on them as they try to move their way up into the Championship 4. But some other strong teams maybe to keep an eye on. Williams F1 Team Gaming, TC Esports, of course, already in that top 4 as things runs. But Lewis, who stands out to you in this field of 27 getting ready to go?
I mean, it's a tough one. I mean, really looking at it, leaning towards it, obviously you'd say TC Esports, especially with Jack Keithley, should definitely be some of the favourites to be sitting towards the front. Nikodem Vishnevsky's got his fair amount of experience on this platform. Across the rest of it, Manuel Vera for HGE Racing Esports started at the DTM Esports Championship with a podium, if I remember correctly, and has shown some really good speed in the build up towards this year. And for Absolute Motorsport Aslith, Enzo Filippo. Definitely keep an eye on Filippo. Outside of that, as it comes to like a whole team, that's where things become a little bit more tricky to pick out who is going to be the top dog team. I think this is going to be a little bit more open, maybe even than the first, where obviously we had our top 10 having 4 teams in it. This I could see being a little bit more chaotic and all over the place.
Well, I can tell you, with qualifying now in the books for heat number 2, 3 different teams inside of the top 3, but there are some repeated names in the top 10. So highlight the point that you mentioned when Visceral crossed the line and Christoph Korekas took the win. Top 2 drivers from the team will score points. So as much as 3 drivers are out there and vying for their spot on track, Lewis, it's a reality of, as you were saying, top 2 are the ones which need to get into position to move themselves forward.
Indeed, and look, I'm very much looking forward to seeing how this race unfolds and piece itself together. I do think it's going to be a little bit more chaotic and open than even the first one, but we'll figure it out, lap by lap. We'll see how they're all piecing themselves together, and I think we're in for a great race.
Well, second race of the night, and good to be back on RaceRoom, a platform that we've used in the past in VCO competitions, but with a return in a slightly unusual car and track combination that our drivers will get to enjoy. Looks like 40 odd seconds before our drivers will turn their attentions to the light, and You had called out one driver in particular, Lewis, who was qualified on pole position. Enzo Filipao for Absolute Motorsport will lead us from the front of the field. What are we expecting, though? Because remember the start down to that first chicane, not the first corner, the flying right-hander, the first chicane. 2x2, they crammed themselves onto the brakes.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm expecting some dramas, some elbows out, maybe a little bit of 2 and 3 wides we expect. Enzo Filippo, by the way, at least when I was racing on RaceRoom, I'm pretty sure he was the #1 ranked driver on the platform. Now sits at 6th behind even Tomas Ribeiro, who's been working his way up quite a bit. Didn't realise, Tobias Gronewold, by the way, is 7th. Didn't realise he was such a RaceRoom targeted driver. David Ribeiro as well is up there in the top 10. So TC Esports, I suspect, will go quite strong. But yeah, I'm expecting you 2 and 3 wide down into the opening complex, that opening chicane. Maybe a little bit less teamwork than what we saw. Obviously, Visceral really started to take control early, didn't they, in that opening race?
Well, you know, you talk about RaceRoom coded. Maybe it's Alfa Romeo and DTM coded, because this is a car, an era of racing as well, where many people like to throw back, and there's not many platforms that do it as well as they do here on RaceRoom. I had the chance to actually be next to the Alfa Romeo DTM car at Sim Racing Expo last year. It got plenty of attention, and it was shown at the Expo. Lots of drivers enjoying it in the virtual world as well. Remember, our second heat of the night. Moments away from getting underway. Enzo Filippo, Jack Keithley split the front row. Dara McCormack flies the flag for, of course, EMM Esports. Magic Mikkel Schmiedel's not far behind. We are underway, and already drama at the back of the field with one of the TC Esports cars going nowhere. Through the first right-hander, we will throw ourselves. Dominic Bly with a good stop, but loses out to Dara McCormack as now we run down to that Clark curve. Couple of cars avoiding action in the background of the shot, but not quite 2x2 as we run down to the chicane. Tidy start, all things considered, I would say.
Yeah, actually, pretty safe apart from some of those in the background. Jack Keithley are getting TC Esports here to try and take over the race lead. There he is, straight through, 3 wide behind him as Klinkmuller's going around the outside. Aggressive stuff here for the Nitro driver. Makes side-by-side contact with Dara McCormack, who's going to go out a little bit wide. Look at this gap for Jack Keithley. Almost 3/4 of a second clear of the field.
He will be loving the sight in the rear-view mirrors, because they might almost be 4 wide now as they head up to the heavier braking zone down at turn 5, the Brent's curve. Lots of EMM green in the mix as well. Dara McCormack up to 2nd, Mikkel Schmiedel in 4th. And the final of their drivers, Jerne Simončić, running 7th as well. Just in front of Nikitin Wisniewski, Vera, Sobrero complete the top 10. So TC Esports, as much as one of their drivers didn't get off the line, have one driver in 1st, one driver in 10th. Jerne Simončić makes a double move.
Yeah, indeed. Good stuff there from Jerne Simončić, looking back towards the Williams. Does feel like quite a retro livery for the Williams F1 Team Gaming club there. I mean, look, they look great. Don Blyer either side, Nikitin Wisniewski behind. There's obviously our race leader, Jack Keithley, who's nearly 3/4 of a second lead, has come down to pretty much nothing. Dara McCormack has closed right in and is now knocking to try and find his way through. We've got a trio of Thomas Engsim racing cars here with Dovrak Kwiatkowski and Varga running 13th through 15th.
I mean, these are the true bumblebees, if you ask me, in terms of the liveries. Oh, one of them's gone out wide, though. And 2 of them have gone out wide. They would have hoped maybe for the drag strip instead of the gravel. That's robbed all their momentum. And there's still that TC Esports car parked and pointed in the wrong direction off the line. Less than 10 minutes to go. And you have said it. Jack Keithley's been caught and looking over the shoulder as a couple more drivers taking rides out through turn 1. Now, that wasn't quite space shuttle status, but that was a hop, skip, and a jump just outside the top 10.
I mean, look, I know this is the pre-2002 layout of the Hockenheim Ring. Pretty sure Rallycross didn't come here until the mid-2010s, but I guess they're giving it a good go trying to break history. There's a lot of wide running there at the opening corner. Keithley and McCormack still running firm at the front. Further back down, we've got Nicholas Albon. We've got another car in Rodriguez cutting over the chicane. We've got Kaminer just ahead in 15th position, just trying to keep the Team Nitro car at bay. Nitro have not had a good season this season, of course, in the VCO Esports Racing League. They looked so good last season. Things just not clicking for them at this point in 2026.
Looking for the other Absolute Motorsports drivers, by the way. Enzo Filippo not having much support right now. Other two drivers sit outside of the top 20, so looks like a last chance race coming up for them. Up the inside for Dara McCormack as we edge up to another one of the chicanes. Jack Keithley, very, very comfortable, beating and banging off the door handles, and 3 wide as Enzo Filippo gets drove into the grass. He's got to back out of it for a moment, but just a reminder of just how powerful the draft is as they snake back and forth. Keithley back up the inside as in towards the stadium section, towards the Sachs curve. He bullies Dara McCormack slightly wide, and McCormack now fights for second.
Look, I just hope that this lot here are racing with at least a little bit of a smile on their face. Dara McCormack obviously trying there with Jack Keithley. I know Keithley will be enjoying it for sure. He loves getting his elbows out of it. Probably wouldn't. I mean, don't get wrong, he's not going to turn around and be like, oh, 3/4 second lead. No, let me just drop back to the boys. No, obviously he wants to check out into the distance, but got to say, doing a great job to put on a show, having a great time, and it is putting on a great fight here. Keithley from McCormack, from Filippo. EMM are the team that are really up there and in control, with obviously Schmiedel and Simoncic, who is dropping up and down our timing screen, but at least from what I can see with him on track, I believe he is behind Schmiedel in 5th position. Oh!
I think he may be having some technical issues as well, so may not be seeing the rest of his competitors. That's not the easiest place to be by any means. Jack Keithley's put himself between the EMM Esports drivers, and it's now a TC Esports sandwich. Now, David Sobrero in 9th, so still not a bad spot for TC, but remember, EMM Esports are 4 points back from TC for a spot inside the final 4, and our defending champions will know that they cannot afford to make life easy for the TC Esports team through the course of the night. Sweep back out through turn 7 and onto the back straight. Up out of draft. Now, that's where the teammates should have maybe coordinated a little bit better. Schmiedel and McCormack moved over in unison. Doesn't quite work out, and now Jack Keithley gets the run.
Yeah, indeed, straight to the outside and straight around it there of McCormack. This will allow the EMM duo of McCormack and Schmiedel to work together here, because now Schmiedel's going to get to the outside. Keithley was trying to block that move as McCormack will move over. There's a bit of a hit check as well as we ride on board with Enzo Filippo, who will try and make this 3 wide coming down towards the stadium. That one's not going to work. McCormack back towards the front. Schmiedel trying to take over 2nd position, but Jack Keithley getting big, bold and aggressive around the outside of Mobile 1. He is going to get around the outside of Mobile 1 at least here of Schmiedel. It is McCormack leading this race from Keithley, from Schmiedel, and then it is technically Jerne Simoncic, who I think can see everyone, but he's definitely having some form of technical issue.
See what our final points are going to end up being as well, because let's not forget race control. Busy already. I'm seeing their updates come through. A couple of penalty points here and there from the first heat of the night. Any results provisional, of course, at the end of the next 5.5 odd minutes. McCormack from Keithley, from Schmiedel. Still no change between the top 3 behind. Once more, one of the Williams F1 team gaming machines is driven off into the grass. That's Matteo Kenzer, who's now going to drop back behind Varga. Meanwhile, to the outside goes Jack Keithley. He's putting himself in the hot seat right now. Sweeps back to the lead.
Oh. I love how they kind of slide through some of these chicanes. They're a bit all over the place. Gotta love that. Obviously there, Keithley back to the front, 4 minutes and 50 seconds left to go from where we are. There will be 2.5 laps left. It pretty much is a half lap. We're about halfway round. We're about as far away from the start finish as we can possibly be as we get under the brakes and then flick it through this very awkward chicane. It really drops downhill at that first pull. When you clip that first apex, you really drop down here and then climb back up as you rejoin the main part of the circuit. Chicane taking us off basically of that main loop. McCormack might be able to get his way back through, depends on what Schmiedel does. 3 wide with your teammate there? Yeah, I was going to say, back out of that one, big boy. He is the Man Mountain, and he's named it for a reason.
That was a disappearing hole as well, so even Magic Mike wasn't going to put himself in that precarious situation. Now they're driving through those bollards like Bowie Knife 99 would through you in competition on Forza Horizon. Doesn't steal their momentum, and Keith Lee's going to now try and squeeze McCormack out of the lead. Timing now thinks Jurnej Simoncic is in the lead of this race. It's getting so confused by what's happening here in the final sector. But as we sweep through once again, are we on the ante-penultimate lap of the race right now?
We certainly are about to head on to the penultimate lap. We're finishing the ante-penultimate lap with Keith Lee at the front. Got to say then, we've got to have a vote here. We need to have the Bowie Knife 99 award. We'll see who's going to win that one tonight. That comes from the most amount of chaos caused by a single driver. Few candidates for that so far here, Arjuna. And like I say, we'll have to wait and see who's going to be picking up that award. But I mean, even without context, Jack Keithley, I mean, he's been really good this race. But yeah, he could be a Bowie Knife kind of guy.
Oh, he could channel the inner Bowie Knife, that's for sure, and go true wrestling heel on us. But we haven't had our second chance race yet, so haven't seen the inner Bowie Knife 99 emerge just yet. That's beautiful, though, around the chicane for both Keith Lee and Schmiedel to make it work. But the gap grows to Dara McCormack. Enzo Filipao takes advantage to sweep through on Schmiedel as well. So now EMM first and fourth positions as timing scores them. The gap back to Klinkmuller and the best of the Team Nitro machines as well. Intimate look as the flames pour out of the rear end of these Alfa Romeos, going down through the gears, and once again onto the back straight they go. So important to get a good exit, maximize your momentum, and much like you would in the month of May at Indianapolis, play with the draft, back and forth they start to go.
Indeed, gotta say, absolutely love the sound of this car. It is mental. It's so crazy. You've gotta love it. And yeah, fire coming out the back of it as they're all battling around. God, if only we could actually see this in person. You know, see these cars battling around. Unfortunately, as much as we're both quite old, 1995 was a great year because I was born, but not because I was alive enough to be watching racing. As Enzo Filippo might get past Keithley here and does.
Well, there is DTM Classic, isn't there? So maybe there's still hope for us to go and experience some sort of classic machinery. Ooh, I tell you what, Keithley starting to have some issues. Much like we saw at the end of heat number one, some drivers starting to lose the rear end a little bit more, and now separation grows at the front of the field. I think we're on to the final lap of this race, and Dara McCormack with some separation, the bit between his teeth, because Enzo Filipau's hunting him down. McCormack's teammate, Mikkel Schmiedel, hunting down Jack Keithley.
Yeah, the slipstream trying to be broken there from Darren McCormack, the Irishman at the front, trying to break Enzo Filippo, the I think second highest ranked driver here this evening, who is out in action. Tomas Ribeiro will be the highest one, as Schmiedel will get to the outside of Keithley, drops back in line. I think Jurnej Simoncic, by the way, might have parked his car, which, to be fair, don't blame him considering his two teammates are in perfectly good enough position. I think that's, you know, as we've said time and time again, if you are the third car in the team, as much as you aren't scoring points because it's only the top two drivers of a given team that are scoring points on the evening, you can still take those points off of the team. And whilst we've got, you know, that at the front, here comes the switch to the race. Here comes Filippo.
Round the outside, powers through, and now just one more chicane and then into the stadium section to go. Has Dara McCormack chosen to blend back into the draft here, Lewis, knowing that he doesn't want to lead, heading into the stadium section for the final time? Around the outside, the Irishman sends it and roars back through to the lead.
Yeah, I mean, that was a brilliant move from McCormack, but now, like you say, you're absolutely right. Like, surely he is going to be under an awful lot of pressure here, coming up towards the stadium section. Enzo Filippo's getting to the outside, coming up towards Mobil 1. Darren McCormack on the inside. They've got a few corners left to go to decide the second race of the night.
And the gap behind them so big that they're not worried about the field catching up. McCormack sweeps through at what used to be called the Ajit curve. Now through the Sachs curve for one final time. And no driving line needed for Dara McCormack. No controller at hand as well, like it was on Gran Turismo 7 a couple of rounds ago. Wheel between the hands, foot to the floor, and Dara McCormack, EMM Esports, heading to the quarterfinals, although drag race to the line, and 73 thousandths of a second splits them at the checkered flag.
Brilliant stuff there for McCormack, for Filippo. and for Keithley. And to be fair, chuck in your Schmiedel. Simmages, by the way, did apparently cross the line in 6th position. I thought he disappeared, but nope, he was still there. What a race, by the way. There was some great fighting in that. And the opening 2 heats here, Arjuna, have given me a lot of hope that we're in for a cracking evening of racing and hopefully an unbelievable 9-car final.
And look at that fastest lap as well from the HGE Racing Esport driver, Manuel Vera, almost a full second quicker than some of those at the front of the field, really showing us that maybe some speed to be unlocked from others, but ultimately for EMM Esports, they'll be happy with how things have gone. Looking through the rest of the running order, got some of the Team Nitro cars 12th and 14th, as much as Klinkmuller ran up front. Not the easiest of final rounds of the regular season for them. Williams F1 team gaming, Matteo Kenza was really put through the ringer, down in 15th for him. Some of the Customs GT cars down in the mix. Thomas Eng Sim Racing here on the edge of the top 20. But ultimately, we'll wait for confirmation for any race control interventions before we let you know who we think's moving forward. What we can tell you, Visceral Esports, 0 Point Racing, BS Plus Competition, Vitality Sim Racing, and the Referox Esports teams all heading through to the quarterfinals after Heat 1. Race results have been confirmed. First time tonight, let's catch up with the driver. And Dara McCormack on top for EMM Esports. And Dara, that looked like some fun. Was it fun for you?
Yeah, that was excellent fun. It doesn't really get better, I think. We were passing every corner, pretty much. It was absolutely amazing. So well done to Jack and Philip Howe, I believe his name is. So yeah, unreal. What
was the talk behind the scenes for the team? Obviously coming in, 4 points behind the top 4 cutoff line. What was the expectation? Just get to the final and see where the chips lie? Yeah, kind of. We just need to win, really. I think that's it. Things need to go our way, and I think that's all we can really do is just hope they do and put ourselves in the best position to do so. Now, Yone was a little bit invisible to some people in that race, but Schmieder was in the mix as well. So how important is it going to be to work together as a team in some of the later races, especially maybe that final? I think it'll be really important given the slipstream. I think you saw Schmieder kind of made an effort to let me break away. He just kind of, went in on Jack and the other fella. So yeah, it was really good to work as a team. And I think that's really important, especially for the final. If we do make it, is to work as a team and make sure someone or 2 people break away. Congrats on the win, Dara. Best of luck for the rest of the night. Cheers, Arjuna. Always great to catch up with our drivers as they work their way through the course of these events, and always great to ask them those questions about teamwork and whatnot. But Lewis, action-packed heats 1 and 2, like you said, and we've really got a lot to look forward, I think, for the rest of the evening. Yeah, I mean, look, this is what this platform does best. Racing in those historic cars, historic tracks. It really does hit the nail on the head, and we had some great fights in there, and I'm expecting much more this evening when it comes to that, especially in that quarterfinal, where, by the way, we're gonna have a mental grid. It's gonna be 36 cars. I'm terrified. Think of the draft down to turns 1 and 2, but before that, let's take a look at some of the highlights of heats 1 and 2. Highlights from the heat stage as we were taking control of heat number 1. It was Tomas Ribeiro from pole position, but it was a switch for the race lead into the opening corner. Caracas, who was the one to take over. Meanwhile, in the mid-pack, some of the fights coming in as BS Competitions. Jack Bolding was trying to get his way through. Isaac Price, Tomas Ribeiro, Sabi Abinakul, and Caracas were all battling it out over at the front of the field. Visceral were really taking control of the opening heat of the night, and they were seeing Ribeiro closing his way in, but it was the trio of Visceral showing that teamwork was really how you make it work around this Hockenheim ring. So a few drivers were working their way forward. Marcel Chinchik was doing a brilliant job to get up into 7th position after starting further back, but it was a 1-2 for Visceral. Caracas ahead of Abby Narkle. Into race 2 then, and it was a great fight at the front. Enzo Filippo leading from pole position, but Jack Keithley was the one to steal it over. Klinkmuller trying to get aggressive down the inside of Darren McCormack as they would go side by side through the opening chicane. Unfortunately for Klinkmuller, it would be a few positions dropped courtesy of that. The front, though, had a great fight between Keithley and McCormack, who was getting his EMM around the outside, trying to find his way through.
And unfortunately for McCormack, he was trying to find his teammate back into the mix. And it was Michael Schmidl. He was getting his way through. Enzo Filippo just watching this quartet do battle at the front. Jerne Simoncic, the fourth part of that. McCormack was leading the majority of the race. Keith Lee was trying to find his way through. At various points, they would be switching over the race lead, left, right and centre. When it came down to the last lap, it was McCormack versus Enzo Filippo, who was getting to the outside and was through off at the halfway point of the lap. But a brave move from McCormack, sending it back around the outside to steal victory away in the second race of the night. McCormack from Filippo, from Michael Schmidl.
And confirmation, Visceral, 0 point, BS Plus, Vitality and Referox all moving forward. Owls, Yes Motorsports and Samantha Tan Racing Esports from heat number 1 are going into that second chance race, while of course in heat number 2, I think still waiting for maybe final race control decisions to trickle through, but at least provisionally, EMM, TC, Williams F1 Team Gaming, Team Nitro, and HGE Racing Esports will advance. Maybe no big surprises, but I think you'd have to say, Lewis, for 92 Esports, after starting the season off on a pretty nice vein of form, we always knew Gran Turismo 7 was where they were going to shine as well. Last 2 rounds have been a little bit more difficult for them.
Yeah, I mean, look, for 92 Esports, they started out maybe a little bit stronger on LFS than we were expecting, and then, like I say, going on to Gran Turismo, they were always going to be a little bit of a contender, and they did contend really, really well. Almost took it to Vitality, but got defeated right at the end. They've had a great season. Not to be the bearer of bad news, but I think even they were kind of on the understanding that realistically them being in the top 4 at the end of the season was unlikely, especially knowing the pace and consistency of some of these, really, really, really top teams that are kind of maybe a little bit on the outside looking in, at least when it comes to being outside of that top 4. 92 Esports, were they going to be one of the teams to move back through? They're in 7th position, looking at some of the teams ahead of them when, you've got your BS competitions, they've got EMM directly behind. Those will be the teams that we're expecting to maybe knock a couple out of that top 4. 92, they've had a great season. Focus on the positive. They had a great opening couple of rounds. After that point, you get whatever you get, and look, if they get knocked out now, at least they get to go and watch the start of the World Cup. So every cloud and all that.
Priorities, you've clearly got them set heading into the next one.
I've not
6 weeks.
I've not got it locked in here.
Is it 6 weeks that we'll have this World Cup on?
It's something like that. I do have the World Cup final booked off of pretty much everything. So in fact, I think it's the same. This is not the same weekend that the finale of this is. So,
Yes.
VCO Esports Racing League final, World Cup final.
As long as it's not at the same time. Yeah, nope, not doing that
made
again.
a mistake once, we're not doing it again.
Good old flex stream days that we all remember, but there's just too many games in the World Cup if you're asking me. That's why I said I'm not watching at the start. I'll watch when we've eliminated half the teams, and then I'll start paying attention to what's going on. Got a bit of time before the second chance race. We'll see if we can catch up with Christoph Kourakis, maybe our Heat 1 race winner at some point as well. But Lewis, in the meantime, let's talk about our final coming up, because obviously once we've whittled it down to the final 4 teams, we head into a slightly different phase of the competition, a slightly different element of stripping away some of those other teams and reducing the amount of noise on track. We can focus on those championship storylines, and going back to Sim Formula Europe, wearing my hoodie right here, or jumper, whatever we're calling it.
Sorry, mine's downstairs. Sorry.
It's fine. I'm cold down here. I've got the AC turned up. But going back to Sim Formula Europe, one of the real things that made the competition so close and also so different was the fact that the drivers couldn't practice on the sim before they got to the event itself, and then only limited practice, which made things a lot closer than maybe they would have otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, look, Sim Formula Europe was a great event for sim racing in an entirety. Obviously, from the Sim Formula Europe side, from the VCO Esports Racing League side, I'm not fully sure as to how we're going to be doing the final now. We're doing it, online and stuff, but I'm curious to see how we're going to play that one. You know me, I've always said that the more we can limit practice, the better the racing will be. And as much as we have this pick ban phase with the circuits this season to kind of actually try and help that, it does happen quite early, so teams still have a fair amount of practice. Honestly, I'm still sat here being like, reduce the practice even more. Honestly, give them
1 hour
15
before.
minutes. 15 minutes.
Even
Send them
better.
out there.
Okay. My suggestion is, though, now that you've kind of got it into my mind, let's go with pick ban 15 minutes before for the track. But let's do pick ban 1 hour before for the car as well. We'll tell the teams 3 car
Bingo.
choices. Have we just figured out the format that we're going to use? Maybe not, but
Bingo.
at least we've got a suggestion. In the meantime, let's catch up with Heat 1 winner Christoph Korekis. He's with Lewis.
Christoph, hello, welcome. I mean, obviously we just caught up with Darren McCormack there after his race 2 victory for you and the Visceral team. Seemed like everything was very under control in Heat 1. Would you agree?
Yep. I mean, there is nothing really more that you could have asked for to kick off an evening like that. Almost taking the first 3 places. Yeah, pretty much going from T1 all the way to the end. So a bit of a teamwork there, as Darren also mentioned that. It's kind of needed even more in the upcoming rounds. So yeah, really looking forward to those.
Obviously, yeah, just talking about how the season has been for Visceral as a team. Starting out on LFS with the victory, runners-up last time as well. It has been an incredible season for you lot as a team before our final. The pace that you're showing tonight, you're a shoo-in to be one of the top 4. You sit 3rd in the points. Realistically, from that heat race, it looks like you're potentially going to be top seed. Was this the pace that you were expecting coming into tonight to be this strong?
I mean, we weren't too delighted with the track choice, to be fair, but I don't think anyone was due to the kind of draft situations that it can cause. But yeah, I mean, the practice servers have shown some good pace, and like the one-shot quali is always kind of a mess, and you have to manage risk with actually pulling through the pace. So I think quali really matters a lot here. I think there are guys who are way quicker on a single lap. That's been shown on the practice servers, but it's really about pulling it off, and you really need to. So I'm really hoping we can actually pull through in this kind of situation. So yeah.
Let's talk about the car a little bit. I mean, what a car to be racing at. Obviously, yeah, you may not like the track so much because of how it slipstreams, but this car, absolute brute. V6 revs up to like 11,000, 12,000 RPM, all-wheel drive, and the way it races seems to be an awful lot of fun out there.
Yeah, I mean, it really brings back some good times from when cars were actually recognizable throughout the series, and not everything was racing GT3s like nowadays. The 4-wheel drive is really a handful. It can get you out of trouble in lots of situations. It also needs a kind of driving style which I think Sammy Joe from our team, bringing from his rally sim career, is really looking forward to, or was really looking forward to. You can throw it around the corners. It's a bit of a handful on the curbs, but like you can really get away with a lot of things and still be fast. Door banging as well. It's really good, fun choice for a car in this sim.
I've seen a lot of drivers getting up onto some serious 2-wheels, so I see what you mean about the curbs. Christoph, obviously, you're going to have a nice little breather here. We're going to get ourselves ready for the second chance race. Congrats on the Heat 1 victory to you and to the Visceral team. Fantastic stuff.
Thank you, and have fun, guys, as well.
We are having a lot of fun, aren't we, Arjuna? Loving this evening so far. Those opening 2 races have been absolutely excellent, and I suspect that the rest of this night is gonna follow suit.
And we have confirmation that the teams that we had mentioned previously from Heat 2 as moving forward can now be confirmed. So our second chance race is getting moments away. The teams now just building up for that final race of the season for some of them, Lewis, because there is no way around it. Some of these teams are now mathematically going to be eliminated from Final 4 contention. Absolute Motorsport, Aslith, Customs GT, Thomas Eng Sim Racing, and 92 Esports, alongside, of course, of the 3 teams from heat number 1, Yes Motorsport, Samantha Tan Racing Esport, and Owls Esport go up in battle with just 2 teams moving forward to the quarterfinals.
Indeed, we've already got 10 moving through. These are our teams that will battle over those final 2 places before we get ourselves ready for a 36-car grid. Mental stuff, absolutely mental. One of those things though with the second chance race, it's only 1 driver per team, is it not?
It is, so should be a rather quiet run down to turn 1, right? No, still going to be plenty eventful.
No. Just means you don't have any assistance from your teammate, right? So sometimes that's easier because there was points, especially in the first race. Now Visceral dealt with it really, really well. Obviously, they're all quality drivers. But when you've got your teammates all around you, sometimes there are the moments where you might trip over your teammate. We saw a little bit of contact between even like some of the BS competition teammates, some of the Vitality teammates. There was a little bit between the EMMs and even the Viscerals as well. They had a little bit of brushes here and there. Just accidental stuff, tripping over each other. The sim kind of lets you get away with it. And so it's fine. But sometimes when you're battling with your teammates and you are tripping up over each other, that can make things more tricky. For this just being you in the track, obviously you have the weight of your team and the rest of this competition, at least this evening, on your shoulders. But, you know, that's the joy of it. We'll be seeing 2 moving through. We'll be seeing 5 going out, and well, then we get ourselves ready for the quarterfinals. Which I don't know if you got this from me, Arjun. I can't wait for. I'm so excited for that race.
I think we've mentioned it in previous events as well. The quarterfinal is always the one with the biggest grid, just by the nature of the format in 2026's ERL. And yeah, I think based on what we've seen, that run out of the first corner down to the chicane is going to be pretty eventful. And you had talked about qualifying with your teammates, but that's not something you can necessarily coordinate once we get into that quarterfinal. You'll just be lucky enough to all be around the same pace, or have to figure out on track how to get to one another. But for the time being, focus on the 6 drivers out on track. No Samantha Tan Racing Esports to close out this season, unfortunately. And so, Lewis, these drivers now lock themselves in for final moments before qualifying starts.
Yep, indeed, just getting their eyes on the prize. I do think absolute favourite for this race, probably by a country mile, should be Enzo Filippo, right? The Absolute Motorsport Atlas driver. He is the lone one. Yes, he's in the pit lane. He's not going out there. Pretty sure he was sat back being, I've done enough laps. In fact, actually, the last race that I think I did on race, which was a while ago, it was in Formula 4s at Old Zandvoort as well, which they have Old and New Zandvoort here on RaceRoom. Enzo Filippo was in the race, and he was a tiny bit
sideways
than me. He was sideways quite a lot of the time. Also, a little bit of pervy spy cam here. We're under the monitor above the desk. We've found a little peephole, and we're looking through.
I always love the unique angles that we get,
especially when they're sideways.
Especially when they're sideways. Who was the red line driver? Was it Jeffrey Rietveld, who we used to spy between the monitors for?
There we go. Yeah, he did. He did have a little bit of a spy cam, did Jeff?
Yeah, that's correct. Made his bed. Got something charging over there as well. Got to be careful when you put your bed on broadcast, because the detectives in the booth are going to get to work.
We will. Let me tell you something, though. My bed is definitely not reset. No, so I woke up so late. I had to sprint out of the building. But that's fine. We're not talking about that. We're talking about cars sprinting around this Hockenheim ring from 2002. These... Oh, 2001, isn't it? These 95 DTM 95s, they're fantastic. There's 3 of them in this pack, by the way. The pack in itself, I'm not advertising here for RaceRoom or anything, but then, they've done as a solid, so throw one back at you. The pack for all 3 of these cars, all the liveries that are included in it as well, is like $12. And you get the Opal, which, by the way, is a great car. We love the Opal because it's mental.
Yeah, but, let's be real. Everyone actually cares about the Alfa Romeo and the Mercedes. I was about to say Aston Martin for a second. I don't know why.
No, I'm not going to lie. If I were racing in it and we had all 3 of them out there, I'd be out in the Calibra.
Now, fair enough.
100% would be out. If we were racing in the Super Tours, where there's so many options, I'd either be in the fridge in the S40, or I might take the Alfa out in that. But I'll probably lean towards the fridge. You just don't get the Calibre anywhere else. Not that you get the Alfa anywhere else. So yeah, fair enough.
Well, and that's true of a lot of the cars that are available on RaceRoom. There's a whole bunch of unique things that are in the mix as well. And we talked about the netcode model that Moritz Lohner has always talked about. But the other side of that is it's got cars that people want to drive as well. And so that's part of why people come over to RaceRoom.
Well, we can see Wojtek Dvorak for Thomas Eng Sim Racing through the stadium section up towards the line. See what these times are going to end up being. So we can see 2 red sectors there in the timing tower. So very curious to see whether it is actually going to be time on the board. I think that means that the track has been exceeded over the line. Let's see what the times are going to be. So Servi goes up there then. Azar. Where is Enzo Filippo? Is he going to set a time, or does he think, I'm in it for the memes, boys? I'll be sitting back from 5th position. Of course he's not here for the memes. He's here for the victories. Up ahead of Azar, ahead of Servi, Roig, Corneo and Dvorak. Both will be starting from the back of the field after not being able to set a time. You can see the, obviously, preparations, I'm sure, for all of these drivers. I'm curious as to see if Enzo Filippo is going to be able to check away. He should have the speed on the other 5 drivers in this, but whether it is going to work, do you know, we've seen from the previous races that the leader cannot break away. Right, as soon as they get, Jack Keith had what, 3/4 of a second and still was caught because of the slipstream. Enzo Filippo should have the pace and the rest of him, but can he break that slipstream?
I would say this is the one race where you might actually have a chance to break the slipstream, just by the nature of some of the battle groups emerging, right? If 2nd, 3rd, and 4th trip over each other and, you know, through the stadium section, allow the leader to open up a 1.5 second gap, then the draft isn't going to be powerful enough through that front straight to really allow them to catch back up if they continue to go 3 wide. So plenty to think about, and our drivers locking themselves in.
Just the 6 drivers to take to the circuit. Imran Azar will be trying to get Yes Motorsports through. Federico Servi trying to get 92 Esports through. Albert Roig trying to get Owls through. Customs GT, it's Victor Corneo. Wojtek Dvorak for Thomas Eng Sim Racing. And Enzo Filippo for the Absolute Motorsport Asalith team. Of all of those, I mean, look, if I were to put a bet on any of this, 100% Enzo Filippo safe bet. The second car, absolutely not a clue.
Yeah, don't ask me for any prediction here, Lewis, because I'm sitting on the fence.
I'm going to ask you for a prediction.
No, I'm going to sit on the fence. It's quite comfortable as well.
Have you got a great view of the Mexico-South Africa match from up there?
Oh, it's wonderful. Although having to get on my ladder to extend myself over that wall as well. You know what? I think that I'm glad you got that one. I think if I'm Enzo, I'm now thinking about how I navigate the start, because obviously out of turn 1, you're not clear. It's been the breaking into turn 2 where we've seen all the action. So if you're 2-3 wide and leaving yourself on the outside of the track, I'd much prefer maybe to come down to the inside and focus on getting a good exit heading down into that second chicane. So a couple of different things that our drivers can be thinking of.
Yeah, there is a lot to be played here for all 6 of the cars that will take to this. Our smallest grid will be followed by the largest. Of course, we've already got 10 teams that have moved through into the quarterfinal. We're about 40 seconds away from the race start. In fact, I think they're already gridding up and they're ready to go. 10 minutes we put onto the clock. We're looking for 2 drivers, for 2 teams to join the 10 that have already gone through into the quarterfinals. Enzo Filippo and Imran Azar starting from the front row of the grid. Perfect start then from Enzo Filippo for the Absolute Motorsport Asalith team. Yes Motorsports Imran Azar drops straight into the slipstream there of our race leader, the feisty Frenchman that sits at the front. We've got Roy Kitt trying to pick up the slipstream for Owls. But at the moment, it was a good launch off there from Enzo Filippo. Now we're talking about slipstream games on the draft down towards the opening chicane. We've got the move coming in from Servi to try and get past Roy, but the top two have got a bit of a gap from the groups behind. Let's see if there's going to be any switch between them. Nope, Azar is playing the long game.
He's got no incentive to make this move now, especially with Servi and Roy going side by side into that chicane. They may both get off the corner decently, though, and that's important because back into the slipstream Servi goes and now tries to slither down low as they run up to the second of the braking zones behind. Dvorak and Conejo continue to fight. Not exactly what they need, but the cut line is a couple of cars up the road in front of them right now.
Yeah, indeed. When you come to fighting for these positions like what we're seeing here in the fight for third, you've got to ask the question, why are you fighting this hard, allowing the top two to run away, basically making this race a null factor? Enzo Filippo with Imran Azar will probably have the Yes Motorsports drivers sit there and be like, right, if these boys are all going to fight behind, I'm just going to sit here, allow that gap to be built up. Yeah, sure, I might want to steal away the victory late on and, you know, just have a bit of fun and have a bit of a fight with it. But let's save that for the last couple of laps when the gap's already been built, because it's already up towards a second and a half. Roy Conservi continuing to fight. Azar's going with the slipstream of Enzo Filippo. And we're going to see another fight here coming down to the stadium section with Servi getting to the outside of Roy and sending the 92 Esports car potentially up the third position. Can't steal it away mouse just yet.
This is what I was saying as well. The draft opens up enough, the gap opens up enough rather, and the draft becomes a non-factor. And for Imran Azar, there's no incentive. He'll re-qualify for quarterfinals ahead alongside of his teammates as well, so he'll be content to sit and ride. Mistakes from both pairs now battling for third and fourth and fifth and sixth. Not ideal for them, and it's going to be a long 7.5 minutes to end their 2026 seasons. Federico Servi going for a ride in that 92 Esports machine. They're not going down without a fight.
I mean, great shout, by the way, because you're absolutely right. There are 4 teams in this race. At the moment, it will be Owls 92, Thomas Engstrom Racing, and Customs GT, who will be no longer seen in the VCO Esports Racing League this season. The next time we'll be racing in the VCO Esports Racing League, it will be in our season finale, which will only have the top 4 teams in the points, which will not be anyone from this. So we'll be saying goodbye to at least 4 of these teams. And let's be real, we will be saying goodbye a little bit later on the evening to Yes and to Absolute Motorsport Aslith. But at least for now, they'll be able to continue on because they've got a 3-second lead over this fight for third.
And what a fight it is now developing into. Dvorak closes, Conejo skips through part of the track just to join the fun, I have no doubt. The question really becomes at what point the tempers maybe start to flare over, because the moves are getting increasingly physical in nature, and as Dvorak slides the outside of Roy, not that far back from Servi, but music to him right now as he builds that advantage, power put down, and look at how they struggle off the corner once again.
Indeed, they're giving it some here. It will be the fight for fourth though, because Servi's checked out the 92 Esports car onto the podium spot, building a gap of over a second over Roy, over Dvorak, over Conejo, who was off wide at the final corner, rather than the penultimate corner, just a lap ago. Can he keep it on the racing line, on the racing surface this time? By that curb on the outside of the penultimate turn is high, and if you go out onto it, if you stick 2 wheels over the other side, it will pull you off quite hard. And unfortunately, Conejo was the one who came a cropper of that at the last turn, but at least he was able to get back onto the circuit and should see the finish.
5 minutes to go, still no move up front, but no surprise there. Just avoid making a mistake, and a chance for your team to potentially still finish the season off on some sort of a high. For Yes Motorsports, they're in the top 10, it should be noted, so still have a chance to finish off this season. Maybe not in the top 4, Lewis, but with a decent points haul, they'll jump in front of maybe Rocks. At the very least, one thing they will do, jump in front of 92 Esports as things are going right now, slip and slide at the back of the field.
Indeed, all over the place a little bit, but you know, these cars, they've got what? I think it's about 450 brake horsepower. It does go to all of the wheels, which, you know, is what obviously we were hearing there from Karekas, who was talking about his teammate Sami Joe Abinagel, who of course has a little bit of rally experience, and I think that would help a little bit in this car. They do kind of slide off the corner. You've got to be careful a little bit with that right foot. It's not like, you know, just driving a rear-wheel drive car, because you can get aggressive with it. You've got to apply a little bit of oppo and just kind of slam the throttle down, but you've got to know how to do it without losing too much time. Too much slide and you lose time. Not enough slide, and guess what? You lose time. Enzo Filippo could have another race victory nicked off of him here, by the way, before the end of the race. We've got 2 laps left to go, and Imran Mazar right onto the rear end, knocking at the door for the race lead.
Look at the setup. Shows that you don't need all that fancy 80-20 necessarily. A much more basic sort of a setup, although still with the direct drive wheel and whatnot. The way that technology's come on so far, it's really a treat. Enzo Filippo sees the pressure in the rearview mirrors, and that's a, well, uncharacteristic mistake, I would say, at this level, Lewis. And not just now looking forward, but looking over the shoulder. Federico Servi only 2 seconds back.
Awkward that from Enzo Filippo. I did mention about how tricky that that penultimate corner can be, and Enzo Filippo clearly being one of them to have come a cropper to it. Just kind of a bit of an odd one though, because it seemed as though his throttle got stuck rather than he got stuck on the curbs. I'm not exactly sure as to what actually happened with Enzo Filippo there, because, like you said, very uncharacteristic mistake, very odd one to have made. Of all of the parts of that double apex final complex, that is not the part that I would have expected to struggle, because he was already through the difficult bit and then just went straight on.
It might be a technical issue, but have to wait maybe for a report post-race. Only 2.5 minutes to go, and he's already re-established enough of a gap that sees Federico Servi and Roy wheel to wheel through the Brems curve. One car shortcuts, one car 2 wheels in the air. This is the type of race where it's clear there are 2 drivers that have got a clear pace advantage, and then the rest of the drivers just hoping to try and avoid making mistakes and keep each other at bay.
I mean, look, they're having a great fight. They're enjoying their last lap and a bit out here on the circuit in the Video Esports Racing League of 2026, at least this point in the year. We've seen some great fights so far this evening. We're seeing some great fights down here between the 2 Spaniards of Roig and Caneo. He's getting to the outside of the custom GT car. Will clear the Owls car up in the 4th position. I think Servi might be a little bit deep. There's a big send back to the inside. Goodness me, like the season finale of DTM in real life, only many years before.
Oh, and they continue to knock 7 bells out of one another right now. Like you say, going off on a high at least to end this VCO Esports Racing League season. And Canyejo at one point shortcutted the track to catch up to this battle. Takes advantage, now past 2 of the drivers. On to what should be the final lap of the second chance race.
Definitely will be the last lap. 3.7 second lead for Imran Mazar over Enzo Filippo, who himself has got 4 seconds back to Servi. Whilst this race has maybe been, relatively speaking, a little bit quieter, I will ask everyone to hold on to their hats for what I'm sure is going to be absolute unrivaled chaos, as 36 of these fantastic Alphas are not too far away from taking on the circuit.
Run down to turn 2. I'm already seeing it. I'm already deciding what memes Joachim might decide to put on social media. You remember back in the past days when he put some Mario Kart music over some of their contacts, hoping we don't need that? Canyejo holds on to the spot in front of Roy, and these 3 now really costing themselves. Servi's driving away up the road in front.
Indeed, look at this though. We've got a little bit of a look coming in. Dvorak will get through on Roig. Owls looking straight back to the inside. Brilliant stuff here. Unfortunately, it'll all be for nothing. Although, to be fair, they are fighting over the final points of the round, I guess. So at least there is that. Dvorak will get ahead of Roig. Caneo ahead of all of that. And ahead of all of this will be Servi, ahead of all of that will be Enzo Filippo, and ahead of all of that will be our race leader for Yes Motorsport, Imran Azar. Only a couple of corners to tick off, and it will be the Malaysian driver to take victory. Yes Motorsport will be moving their way through, dragging through Absolute Motorsport Aston despite the costly mistake from Enzo Filippo. It'll be those two teams moving through the quarterfinals. A superb drive from Imran to get victory here in the second chance race. Enzo Filippo, and then it's Federico Servi, Victor Conejo, Wojtek Dvorak, and Albert Roig, the 6 cars to finish here in the second chance race.
Interesting set of battles at the tail end of the field, but relative calm at the front. Now we just got to wait and see exactly what happened to Enzo and why he had that slight mistake.
It's a weird one, isn't it? Like, we don't normally see mistakes like that from a from a driver of that quality, but it just is what it is. That's just how it unfolds. Everyone, kind of tripping up over each other here, there, and everywhere, and everyone's giving it everything. And unfortunately for Enzo Filippo, clearly something went wrong there. Not 100% sure as to what it was, and I'd like to believe it wasn't just a driver error, because I think Enzo's a very good driver. I'd be surprised if it was.
Well, sometimes we all slip up. Even the best can make mistakes. Imran Azar takes advantage to grab the window. He's standing by with Lewis.
Imran Azar in the commentary booth. Hello, welcome. Obviously, Yes Motorsports moving their way through from the second chance race. Great drive from you. Stealing away victory there from Enzo Filippo, who made a mistake at the final turn, but seemed as though throughout the entire race you played your cards perfectly. What was going through your mind right at the start there?
Yeah, I knew Enzo would be pretty quick anyway, so my plan was kind of like just to sort of like sit behind him, and if there is an opportunity, like go for a move. But I was following him, and then we did some overtakes, but then I don't know, he mentioned his wheel disconnected or something, which was a bit unfortunate. But fortunately, he still made it through in the end. But basically, yeah.
For Yes Motorsports, obviously you're right up there in the points. You're kind of fifth in the point stand, or you sort of just outside of those top groupings in the points. I think a little bit further down than that, rather. But what are you expecting from the night? What are you expecting to get out of this evening? Where are you expecting to finish in the standings? Do you think you can maybe get your way through into the semi-finals and move your way through, or are you just here for a good time and seeing what happens?
A bit of both, I think. Our team came into this event knowing that RaceRoom is probably our weakest event, so we just want to do really our best and just show that we can hopefully show some pace in some other sims as well. But hopefully do well in the quarterfinals, if lucky enough semifinals. But I think that might be a far-fetched considering the quality of the grid today. So we'll see what happens. But
myself and Arjuna have discussed quite a bit as to how the quarterfinals are going to be absolutely crazy. Of course, seeing so many cars out on circuit, 12 different teams all doing battle. It's probably going to be, at least with this car track combo and that grid, probably the craziest race of the season. Would you agree? Are you excited for that? Are you a little bit nervous for that?
Honestly, I did not expect this track to be picked, because it's good. The chaos that it will ensue is we'll see what happens on the quarterfinals, especially with how many cars, 36 cars or something. I might be wrong, but the slipstream games, as well as the RNG of the curbs as well. The curbs it's just very difficult to get it very consistent, so you might see some very botched overtakes, then cars going wide and everything. So it'll be very interesting, especially at the front with someone, especially when you don't have the slipstream. It's gonna be a very tough time to keep the cars behind. So it'll be a very interesting race up front as well. So
well, this race definitely hasn't been botched for you. Great job in the second chance race. Yes Motorsports moving through into the quarterfinals, and a great win for you, Imran. Best of luck in the quarterfinals.
All right, thank you so much.
There we go. Obviously, really, really good there. Really exciting. Really enjoyed that. And I fear for all 36 drivers here. This race is going to be mental.
Yep, I fear for us trying to figure out what's happening in those first couple of corners as well. Although I have no doubt it will settle in pretty nicely after that. So quarterfinals, semi-finals, and then our final race to come. Just 3 more races in this 2026 Esports Racing League season. And I think most importantly, Lewis, the first 6 teams in the championship standings, effectively those that are inside of the points mix, are all still in contention. So plenty to play for. But before we talk about that, let's take a look at some of the highlights from the second chance race. Highlights from the second chance race. A little bit of action down the back of the pack as the top 2 broke away. Absolute Motorsport. Enzo Filipao led, but all as Imran Azar chased them down behind. A pair of Spaniards fought at the very tail end of the foot field as they continued to take themselves out of the battle equation. Relatively quiet race, all things considered, with less cars on track, but once one small mistake was made, the door was open for Imran Azar to slip his way through, while the fighting behind saw the end of the 2026 season for some of the drivers, and up front our 2 come to the end. Here's a look then, Lewis, at the teams moving forward.
Indeed, yes, Motorsports, Imran Azar there taking victory. Enzo Filippo, second position for the Absolute Motorsport Asalith team. Qualified through into the quarterfinal. The rest of the teams out. Obviously, we didn't see Samantha Tan racing there, moving their way through. Just is what it is. You know, that is unfortunate. We'll see those 5 teams out. And we'll see, yes, Motorsports and Absolute Motorsport Asalith moving through into the final. Into the quarterfinal, rather, aren't we?
And so let's talk about the championship mix then as well, because all of the top 6 teams, effectively those that are still mathematically in the mix, are in that quarterfinal battle. Vitality Sim Racing, Williams F1 Team Gaming, Visceral Esports, TC Esports, BS Plus Competition, and EMM Esports. Lewis, ultimately, I think at this point, any mistake for these teams and the season unravels, because the margin between all these teams are so small.
It really is. You know, when we're at this point of the competition, you've gone through your 3 rounds of build up to this point. You've either scored well and you kind of need to have a decent night here, or you've scored poorly and you need to have an epic one. And it is make or break here. And if there is a point in the competition where you don't want to make or break kind of race, it is when 36 cars are out there on the grid. We've spoken to a lot of the drivers so far. They say that qualifying is obviously really, really important. Being around teammates is really, really important. How do you get all of that? Because you've got to qualify well. You have to have all of your teammates qualify well. You've got to be in the right position at the right time. And to be perfectly honest, you need to get damn lucky, because at this point in the competition, only 6 teams move through. Which 6 it's going to be, I couldn't tell you. There are such good, kind of teams that can be that 6.
I think, obviously, I've just pulled up the entry list for the quarterfinal in front of me right now to just remind myself of the drivers as well. Visceral Esports, obviously, they were the standouts of Heat 1, no question. But Vitality Sim Racing also made their case, especially with Marcel Chinchik fighting his way through the field. On the other side, TC Esports, if they get Carlos Fenolosa back in action, they could also be a team that, from Heat 1, we should watch. Heat 2 was arguably the Heat, though, Lewis, where the field was a lot more evenly matched, and so there's a lot more unknowns, I think, for them about the overall pace of their team.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this, I really don't know which way to go. Like, Visceral will be one to surely be a team to move through after their excellent performance in the opening one. EMM looks really, really good as well in their heat. Outside of that, I mean, even with them, I think this qualifying session is about as important as it gets, right? And let's be grateful here that the qualifying session, yes, it is only one lap, but yes, they have the track to themselves. Could you imagine? Look at how many names are on the left-hand side of this tower. It is 36 drivers taking to this track. If we don't have a car on their roof through that opening chicane, I will be amazed.
Well, you say opening chicane, but I think this is a race where turn 1 is going to be its most precarious. Yeah, we're going to see some rallycross and the rejoin as well, right? If we see it from the front of the field and someone slides back on and isn't given enough room, I mean, I'm pretty sure we've seen it in sim racing and the real world, what can happen here at the Hockenheim Ring. And with practice drawing to a close, some of our drivers and teams who have been waiting and watching since that second chance race grid was confirmed now will finally get the chance to roll their focus into the one-lap qualifying shootout. Once again, track to yourself, pressure on, get the job done. It's what we love about these qualifying sessions. It's not quite hyperpole, it's about as close as we can get.
Indeed, rarity as well. We get to see the same driver on circuit. Obviously, Jack Keithley and Isaac Price, rarely seen together, look pretty much the same. Drive pretty much the same, actually. They're both about the same speed. And they both are not afraid of getting down the inside and forcing the move, let's be real. But they both get to go on circuit here, so who knows? We're looking at Isaac Price, of course, who was fantastic when we were racing on Live for Speed. Was great, obviously, last time on iRacing as well, and I think might be pretty strong in this qualifying session. Visceral was so strong. I would be surprised, though, if they're able to get 3 cars in the top 5 in this. I think if you get 3 cars in the top 5 in this, we salute you. Good luck.
I mean, that would be a statement. They couldn't afford a slip up again, much like any other team in the mix at the front of the field. Just 4 points, or 5 points technically, back to BS Plus competition on the other side of the cut line. But the biggest statement made in the first heat of the night. First sector times are coming in. 45, the quickest time that we've got. See Marcel Cinchik, 5.35, maybe the quickest of them all, but Jack Keithley, second quickest with a 5.47. Isaac Price with a 48.04, already 3/10 down in Sector 1, Lewis.
Yeah, a little bit frustrating. I mean, I wouldn't read too much into the sector times at the moment. The only ones that you can read there on the sector times, and actually some big ones here. The ones with a double red sector, I'm pretty sure their laps invalidated. Carlos Vanellos is one of them. Cody Nikolat-Latkovsky and Christoph Korekis, both another ones. Lagukas as well, potentially picking up a track excursion, along with Caserta. So a few big names in there that potentially could have invalidated lap times and will be starting from the rear end of the one grid in this entire competition. You cannot afford to start from the back end.
Another good middle sector from Marcel Cinchik and from Jack Keithley based on what we're seeing. For Isaac Price, a 35.181. He's lost another couple of tenths, it would seem, but the clock at the end of the lap will tell us the full story. Wind through the penultimate corner. No mistake like we saw in the second chance race. Straight in that steering up, put the power down. And for Isaac Price and Visceral, lap number 1 and only lap in qualifying complete. And it is half a second off the benchmark that Jack Keithley set. A tenth and a half over Marcel Cinchik. All happened in that final sector. Thomas Ribeiro goes to second, but some bigger margins through the field I would have expected.
Yeah, Darren McCormack about a quarter of a second off in the second sector. Up towards the line. Few big names still to come across the line. Don Bly goes to 8th position. Nikodem Vishnevsky up to the top 5. Darren McCormack working through the final corner. Could be a top 5 time for him. Only ends up 12th. Loses time in the final sector. That is not great for EMM. Jack Keithley, Tomas Ribeiro. They're looking like they're going to be the front row here in what I'm sure is going to be an absolutely mental race. Enzo Filippo as well for the Absolute Motorsport Asset team. Another big name without a time onto the board. Manuel Vera, though, is coming through. A driver who's been getting stronger on this platform the last 6 or 7 months. Keep an eye on the Spaniard. Is there a big pole time coming in here?
And looking at the teams, only Team Nitro have got 2 cars inside of the front 6. And Williams F1 Team Gaming also have 2 cars in the top 10. So as Manuel Vera comes through the final corner, 3.5 tenths lost in Sector 2. That's going to drop him down maybe outside of the front 2 rows, out of the front 3 rows. 7 on the board for the HGE Racing Esports machine.
Solid lap though from the Spaniard Marcelo Caserta. Then will be the final time to come through. Track limit excursions for Lagukas, for Nikola Latkovsky, Fenalosa, Kerikus, Filippo, Hayich, Kalef and Bolding. Terrible news for BS Competition, who of course are in the fight for the top 4. Hayich and Bolding both below the cut line. Aidan Walsingham up in 8th position, their lone driver up there. The top 6 teams to progress, they are going to have to keep out of trouble on this opening lap, and that is going to be easier said than done. I do not believe there's going to be a lap time to go any higher than 27th for Caserta, and indeed he exceeds anyway.
Well, I get the sneaking suspicion that for BS Plus competition, already the hopes may start to dim. They need to advance to the semi-finals. There's no ifs or buts about that if they want a spot in the top 4. But for TC Esports, the team on the cut line. Jack Keithley flies the flag at the front of the field. Carlos Fenalosa, his teammate, no lap time for him. And the second best of the TC Esports machines, all the way down in 20th position with David Sobrero. In between them, some of the EMM Esports drivers, 13th and 16th respectively. They've got some work to do. We know exactly what Team Nitro can do. Klinkmuller's down in 19th, but his teammates are up there 4th and 6th with Grunewald and Halbin in the mix. And meanwhile, some big names further down looking to make their way forward, including the likes of Thibaut Casabon. Biggest grid of the day. Is it biggest chaos of the day as well? We're about to find out.
Potentially so. I think Jack Keithley's got a great shout here of him, but I don't think he's going to ever get up to 3/4 of a second like he did earlier on in the night. There is a look at Keithley. Had a few interviews with him over the last few weeks. Even DTM Esports finished in 4th position for TC. He's a great driver. He's been getting. I feel like he's got the speed. I think he's just started to mature. He's in control. Let's see if he can take a victory here. Waiting for one car to head to the grid, and then this mental grid will begin this mental race.
And what a glorious sight that was. This slightly older Hockenheimring layout has brought plenty of action. The blast down into the forest that you don't see in modern day. But throw a retro car and retro track together, and RaceRoom has delivered the goods so far. 3 races left to go tonight in the regular season of the Esports Racing League, and the quarterfinal is green. Jack Keithley gets a good jump. Ribero's going to have to be careful because Tobias Grunewald in that Team Nitro red pulled to the outside and sweeps around the outside. Gravel, got to be careful that you don't dig in and lose your momentum, slip and slide. Plenty of cars behind lose track position. But as Keithley leads us on the run up to the first chicane, Ribeiro, Chinchik, Halbin, Grunewald, Wisniewski, your top 6. And important here that a couple of different teams in the mix. Only Team Nitro have 2 cars inside of this front 5. And as we fan out, it's BS Plus competition going on the offense. Aidan Walshingham dives to the inside, 3 wide through the chicane, and we get through safely.
Yeah, we're going to have a big pause after this, I think, because going into the semi-finals, Race Control's going to have an awful lot of work to do. There's Carlos Fenalosa for TC Esports onto the back of Enzo Filippo. Outside the top 10, Code Nikolatkovsky was off the road. T1 has rejoined. Holding Lagukas and Livaragi have all had problems. Look at this 3 wide though. You've got Williams, you've got BS Competition. Williams skipping over there, just trying to kind of keep themselves out of trouble. I think it might have been Dom Bly, but try and pick them apart in all of this. Absolute scenes here.
Well, one of the Williams F1 Team Gaming cars, I think, tried to send it down the inside and might have instigated the drama that sent their teammate off the track. One way then the other, they go down to the center curve, the final chicane on these long straights before we then edge our way down to the final sector of the lap, the stadium section, the hook of the right, and then down into the Sachs curve. Single file will get interrupted at the front of the field. No, Thomas Ribeiro tucks back into line. Quite interesting. The fight's behind. Walshingham sees it all in the rearview mirrors.
I mean, for Tomas Ribeiro, this is kind of like he kind of needs to leave it. To be fair, for the top 2, they kind of need to really win this race. Their teammates are so much further down the field. Bo Dixon is Tomas Ribeiro's highest placed teammate, and I think David Sobrero in 19th position is Jack Keithley's highest placed teammate. So as much as they're doing the work for the team, unlike what we saw earlier on in the night where your teammates all qualifying quite well. This is a very colourful grid, and it's remaining colourful towards the front. Everyone's kind of stuck in between everyone else, and clarity as to which team is moving through. The points table for this race is going to be absolutely mental.
And it will be provisional for maybe a bit while Race Control picks their way through everything. So we'll have a chance to chat to plenty of our drivers, I have no doubt. Around the outside, Ribeiro got the lead, then lifted off the throttle and gave it back. Right side's in the air as we gallop over the curves at the Clark curve. And then back on the power with now 4 cars breaking away. Keithley, Ribeiro, Chinchik and Nicholas Halbin. So it's TC Esports from 0 Point Racing, Vitality and then Team Nitro. The second Team Nitro driver, the cork in the bottle in many ways. And potentially that's starting to overflow as they trickle down into the second of the chicanes. Contact made, Team Nitro car in the middle of it, and BS Plus gets sent off the road.
Yeah, Walsingham just a little bit off. Thankfully, his teammate Marco Pajic is rising his way up from the back of the field up to 24th. Jack Balding not giving the assistance that's needed for the team. Don Blyer here trying to battle with Samijo Abinarkle. The two of them fighting over 13th position. Bit of assistance coming in from Bo Dixon for 0 Point directly behind. BS Competitions' Aidan Walsingham was off the road ahead and will drop a whole heap of position behind Darren McCormack and Michael Smeedle, the EMM duo. We've got another car joining the fight for the race lead. There's one of the Team Nitro to drop down. It's Klinkmuller, who's gone for a spin. He's been sent round on the straight that had to have assistance.
And well, as the third car in the Team Nitro queue, all he can do really now is pull to the side and let his teammates do the job up front. Looks like Matteo Kenzer has been pushed off into the gravel on the outside of the Ajit curve. And indeed, now down to 32nd position. Don Blyer still sits then as the second best of the Williams machines. Nikita Wisniewski behind Jurne Simoncic as Aidan Walsingham. It's been a wild lap to say the very least. It's not done just yet, side by side to the line.
Indeed. They'll go into the opening corner. The switch now goes. Aidan Walsingham backs out. Dominic Blyer will take over 12th position. This is not going well for BS Competition, but to tell you the truth, I can't really tell you which teams it's going amazingly well for at the moment. For TC Esports, as much as they're leading the way, again, like I said, David Cabrera, the highest placed car as a teammate, being in 18th position. It's not exactly brilliant for anyone, really.
Wow.
Trying to look to see where it is, but, well, Dominic Blyer's gone round, has been set.
And that was some of the clumsiest racing I think we've seen today. And maybe to be expected with the most number of cars on track. They all tried to almost come into each other's lines, and it was never going to quite work out. 3 cars now breaking away at the front. Nicholas Halbin still in touching distance, but increasingly left to play with his own toys. Klaas Groenewold still holding on to 5th position through all of that. And I do get the sneaking suspicion that what Race Control will be looking through here is going to potentially have consequence on the cut line, on which are the final couple of teams that make it through to the semi-finals.
Yeah, indeed. I think we might be able to commentate on half the first half of the Mexico-South Africa match with how long Race Control is going to take to get through this absolute mess. It was always expected that this one's going to be a bit of a long pause before we get into the semi-final, but we're going to have an awful lot to talk about after this one and an awful lot to look at for Jack Keithley. I'm sure there's a big smile on his face. Look at all this, though. Enzo Filippo going side by side. He's got Code Nikolakowski, he's got Christoph Karakas as well, all on the inside. Code Nikolakowski makes a move up to 22nd position. Enzo Filippo trying to follow him through. Both of them getting past on the visceral driver. These three, having started from the rear of the field, all trying to work their way together. That's the kind of the problem, right? Because sometimes, you're the only, respectfully, not you yourself, Arjun, or you, the viewer, but just generally to these drivers, certainly not me. You might start at the back of the field and be the only good driver, like really good driver, front of the field driver that will start from back there, right? Then, in a race this where there's multiple all on the same speed starting towards the back, it actually makes it so hard to work your way through because you're all kind of fighting amongst each other, but you're also trying to get through at the same speed. The amount of tripping over each other you do is absolutely crazy, and I'm sure they're probably having a great time doing it, but it's like a multi-class race for some of them trying to get their way through. 3 wide here again.
You hope the smile is on their face, at least for the time being. Oh, sideways into the side of the other cars. Latkovsky and Karekas now lose out as Thibaut Casabon puts the power down and pulls through in the bright yellow Vitality Alfa Romeo DTM from 1995. Back down now to turn 5. Want to be on the inside here if you can hold that line. And that's going to be a big send from Latkovsky to try and box out Christoph Karekas. One driver went straight. There was a braking zone there. Forgot about it, I think.
Yep, indeed. Obviously, anyone who knows exactly how this one's unfolding on the points answers on a
postcard, please.
I will say, the normal guy who's sending me points is just basically saying, sorry, I'm busy. But then looking at this, I'm like, yeah, I mean, look, even if you were trying to give me points live, I don't even think that's possible at this point. It's absolutely crazy out there. We can only focus on what we can see. For Team Nitro, they are definitely ones that are moving through because they're Hoban and Gronewold up there. EMM, they're in 8th and 9th, really likely to be going through. 0 Point currently running in third rather, and 22nd. But then they've got Bo Dixon in 12th. They'll be going through at this point. Imran Mazar, who just won the previous race here for Yes Motorsports, is trying to find his way back through on David Cabrera, who I think TC Esports are definitely another team as well that are in prime position to move through, along with Vitality. Outside of those ones, not a clue. And I can't even remember what teams I've just listed off, Arjuna.
Yep, neither can I. And that's part of the fun of this quarterfinal format. Answers on a postcard indeed, and if anyone has correctly predicted at the start of this race which 6 teams will advance, well, tell us the lottery numbers at the end of the day as well. A couple of cars rally crossing off of turn 1, but around the outside at the clock curve to take away the lead of the race, it could only be Marcel Chinchik. Vitality hit the point.
Marcel Chinchik does like a big slipstreamy track. Obviously in the Rennsport R1 competition, he's so good at places like Monza where it's a big slipstream fest as well. So it's no shock that he's doing quite well around here. I know he likes himself a little bit of touring cars as well. Has shown well on pretty much every platform that we race on here in sim racing, and he's showing it again here, battling with Jack Keithley at the front of the field. Thomas Ribeiro, the highest ranked player on RaceRoom that's racing this evening. He's ranked 5th on the RaceRoom ranked leaderboard, and he's having a great year so far, so I'd suspect he's probably not that far away from taking over top spot as well. There's some big slides as they leave the centre chicane, including the biggest of all from Nicholas Halban in 4th position.
Not quite drops off the tail end, but has been at arm's distance from the podium spots this entire race, has that Team Nitro machine. Does look as though Keithley and Chinchik have been working together. You lead down one straight away, the toe, and will trade it back and forth at the end of the straights. It's easier said than done. Can't afford to make many mistakes. Also, Chinchik made one there through the Sachs curve and gave up about half a car's length as we sweep around the final double right-handers through the Sud curve and onto what should be the final lap in this quarter-final race, with TC Esports up front. 4 different teams, in fact. Make that 5 different teams inside of the front 5, but with no clue as to which 6 teams are going to move forward.
Yeah, like I say, there's going to be some maths run after this one for sure. Like I say, there's a few teams in really solid spots, but it's not that clear as to who's going to be where. Nikodem Vishnevsky losing out a little bit there to Tobias Gronewold. Race lead here, switching round. Marcel Chinchik gets around the outside of Jack Keithley, who leaves it down the inside of the opening chicane. Bit of a touch between the two of them. Bit of a touch again. Jack Keithley pushed out wide. Touch again as the Vitality man just tries to get his way through. Marcel Chinchik side by side for the race lead, side by side for 3rd as well.
Well, Jack Keithley's the wrestling fan. What counter does he have to the send around the outside from Marcel Chinchik? Beating and banging once, twice, then thrice down to turn 6, the Brems curve. Oh, out wide goes Chinchik. He's forced to cut the track, slides back in front of the 0 Point Racing machine of Thomas Ribeiro and onto the back straightaway. 1 chicane and 1 sector left after that, and Keithley's not allowed to breathe just yet.
This is fantastic racing between the pair of the centre chicane. Up next is Marcel Cinchik into the rear end, just a touch there of Jack Keithley, who hangs on to the race lead. He was ultra defensive here down into the chicane. Few more corners left to go. 4 for the race lead, might become 2 because Tomas Ribeiro and Nicolas Albon are scrapping over that final step of the podium. Here comes a look to the inside for Marcel Cinchik, the hungry Hungarian, trying to steal victory away from Jack Keithley.
And don't look behind, but there's fighting all the way through the field. What a race this quarterfinal has been. Around the outside, Keithley holds on, but it's not done just yet. Inside line for the black and gold, the TC Esports, but the yellow of Marcel Cinchik tries to sting around the outside. Tomas Ribeiro will sweep through though as Cinchik gets all sorts of loose and out of sorts. What a fight, what a battle, and 2 more races left, but who advances to the semi-finals? Does Jack Keithley know? All he knows, winner at quarterfinal race in the Esports Racing League.
Unbelievable race. Fantastic from the top 4. Take a bow. Jack Keithley, Tomas Ribeiro, Marcel Cinchik and Nicolas Albon. That was epic stuff. Some of the best racing we've seen in VCO Esports Racing League. Jack Keithley, your winner. And I know he may look pretty aggressive there. He will be through the roof with happiness. He'll have loved every single lap of that.
My, oh my, we can finally breathe, but only for a couple of moments. We'll split the field in half and get ready to go for the semi-finals. Keithley, Ribeiro, Cinchik separated by 3/4 of a second. Halbin, Wisniewski, Gronewold, and then Schmiedel. It's 7 different teams inside of the front. 7, I think. And then McCormack, Price, and Simichik. Correct that. Halbin and Gronewold, obviously, both Team Nitro, but still pretty competitive up towards the front. Walshingham drops down to 11th, just in front of Abby Narkle for Visceral. Dixon, Vera, Toman, Sobrero. He fought up from 20th to 16th. Azar, the star of the second chance race, 17 for Yes Motorsports, with Rafa Rock's second BS Plus car. Will that be enough? 11 plus 19 for BS Plus. Nikola Latkovsky down in 20th, the second of the 0 Point Racing entries. Filippo, Zimmerman, Khalif, Blyer, Karekis, Casabon, Fenelosa, Balding, Manacci, and Quenza. That's the top 30, and just a couple more down at the very bottom. Gabor, Navragi, Caserta, Lagukas, and Klinkmuller. Won't pack 35 cars onto the track for quite a while before we get ready for the next season of the Esports Racing League. Before then, let's catch up with our podium sitters if we can. And starting off with Jack Keithley. Breathe, breathe. What a win, Jack. How much fun did you have?
That was great fun. That was brilliant. I can't get too emotional, too invested because we've got another race to do. But yeah, I'm just so happy. I'm really, really happy. I have a lot of joy right now, put it that way.
How good is it being able to race against the likes of Marcel, Thomas, who seemed to give as good as they got? It was one of the best displays of racecraft I've seen in quite a while in sim racing.
It's just a massive game. I mean, yeah, Marcel, one of the best in the world. Thomas is absolutely amazing right now when sim racing's on form. So I knew I could race with him. It's just a case of beating him or outwitting him or out-qualifying, one or the other. But we managed to do it, we made it through. We don't need to get the spare car out of the trailer because our cars are currently all good. We're now going to get ready for the next race. And yeah, hopefully us at TC Sport we can keep progressing.
And let's talk about progressing, because I think you probably have done enough, you and your teammates, to move forward to the semi-final. What are we now looking forward to? Because I think the teamwork, the coordination, that's where you'll now move forward from the semi-final to the final.
Absolutely, got to be there. We're now at the point where it's nut cutting time, so we've all got to be on our game. I've got to keep us up, and the guys I know are pushing extremely hard. We've just got to keep up this performance, and I'm sure we'll make it to the end, make it to the final. But we've got to keep going.
Well, we saw the emotion. Breathe, enjoy. A couple more races left to go, hopefully, Jack. Enjoy that one.
Thank you very much, guys. I hope to speak to you later.
So we will be speaking to Jack Keithley a little bit later on tonight with that kind of pace. Next one we pick up with Tomas Ribeiro. Been pretty much, arguably, the 4-man Tomas here on RaceRoom, sort of the last 12 months, 18 months, picking up a load of special event victories and show you good form. I remember you doing so well and obviously winning the RaceRoom Super Touring Championship as well. Clearly keeping the form up here for 0 Point Racing. Epic fight there with the top 4. What do you make of that race? What do you make of this car as well?
Yeah, it was an interesting race. I mean, we could keep quite a margin to the guys from behind, so we had quite a big gap to just fight and just see how it goes. I mean, for me, I'm not really here to win or anything. I just want to score good points for the team. Of course, winning, it's the most important thing, but I just want to play it safe and secure good points. I mean, the car is... for me, it's not really made for this track. It's so bumpy, the setup is so stiff. So the car, when it goes to the bump, to a curb or a bump, just kinda goes into two wheels and kinda gets upset.
I mean, for you say like you're not here to win. Now I've been saying this quite a bit this season, that 0 Point Racing coming into this round here on RaceRoom, between yourself, between Cody Nikolakowski, I didn't even think that you were having Bo Dixon in the car as well. You're a great and experienced trio of drivers here on RaceRoom. I mean, surely there is that thought in the back of your mind that you three are all very capable, especially now you've got through the chaos of the quarterfinals. The finals, being a top 3 team here and contending for that victory, it's very possible for the 3 of you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say anything before, and it just all goes wrong. But we have a good chance. We have a lot of experience on this team, so we just hope to get a good result to finish the season here, and let's hope for the best.
Obviously, we've seen it a little bit here. The most important bit for a lot of these drivers out this evening is qualifying. Obviously, for Cody Nikolakowski, a little bit of a track excursion in qualifying, sent him towards the back. Bo Dixon was in the midfield. You were at the front. How hard is it to get this car around a lap in qualifying, on the limit, in track limits, which has appeared to be quite difficult for a few of our drivers?
It's not easy at all. As I said, the car really gets upset on the curves and all the stuff, so it's really easy just to get a wrong exit and get off track. It's not really easy qualifying, even with a one shot. So it's just all about just keeping it safe and get the lap in. Don't invalidate anything. So yeah, as you see, we are doing 206.3s, maybe checked it at 0.1, but we are like 3-4 tenths off of what we can do. So yeah, everyone just playing it safe. Everyone knows that the qualifying has some risks, and you just need to get up.
Well, you've got through the hard bit. 0 Point Racing, great job there from you, Tomas Ribeiro. And like I said, I've got a thought maybe you three can go the full distance and up into the final. We'll have to wait and see, though. Great job to get your way through from the quarters.
Yeah, thank you.
Again, there we go, Arjuna. As 2 of our drivers caught up with Marcel Chinchik, he said, "Oh, I'll talk with Arjuna." No, absolutely not me. No,
don't blame him. I hope we get a bit more excitement from Thomas if he does make it to the finals, and things go the way that I think they can, because you and I think both are in agreement that that's a lineup that's definitely one to watch. But we packed 35 of those Alfa Romeos out onto track for the quarterfinals. Boy, was it crazy. Let's take a look at some of the highlights from the last race. 35 cars fired out through turn 1, and a bit of drama further back as onto the gravel, and through the bumps the drivers ran down to the Clark curve for the very first time. The separation started to build at the front as Jack Keithley led the way, with Marcel Chinchik hunting him down, Thomas Ribeiro and Nicholas Halban in tow. Adam Walshingham was in the thick of the action for BS Plus competition, pushed off the track down at the Brems curve once. The chicanes proving to be the point of action where drivers really tried to balance, carrying their momentum through and making crucial moves. The likes of Mikkel Schmidl fought his way forward. A great fight from the Esports driver, but all as that contact played itself out through the braking zones into the chicanes. For the lead, Marcel Chinchik gave it his best go on Jack Keithley, but once they ran back around to the line, Thomas Ribeiro took advantage from a mistake from Chinchik, and Keithley and TC Esports on top. And so at least provisionally waiting for the final race control decisions to come through. But we're going to need a bit of a shake-up, I think, from race control to see anything major happen from here, Lewis. With a 9-point gap between Visceral Esports and BS Plus competition, the 2026 ERL journey may have just come to an end for the Zebras.
Which is a shame. You know, we kind of look at BS competition. They've been right up there and thereabouts, being around the top 4. But unfortunately, I mean, I think it kind of comes down to that qualifying session. They had 2 drivers that were exceeding track limits that were below, outside of the top 30, down towards the back of the grid. You just can't have that in this race. Like, it's what that qualifying session, the quarterfinals, is 100% the kind of session where if you had a choice of, you know, 90%, you'll get around the circuit without exceeding track limits, but you'll be half a second, you know, 0.3, half a second off of where you would be, or you can push it to the limit, but it's pretty 50-50 as to whether you get the lap sorted. I would take the half second, even that kind of margin, off of pole, or even off of what I can do, right? As long as I'm getting that lap onto the board. I get it, you've got to push it to the limit, but this is such a dangerous race, and unfortunately, BS competition, Williams F1 Team Gaming, a couple of big names, big hitters, knocked out because of it.
And like you say, the importance of putting in a decent qualifying lap as opposed to the perfect qualifying lap maybe illustrated quite nicely. Should also point out that I think, based on these provisional standings, Williams F1 Team Gaming, who were tied for the championship lead with Vitality Sim Racing coming into this evening, should still be safe and hold on to a spot in the final 4 moving forward. They can drop no more than, 6 points at this point to any team in front of them, and EMM East 10 points behind them. I think at this point, what it does officially mean is EMM Esports have got now to work somehow to eliminate TC Esports in the semi-finals. They're playing 2 games, qualify for the final, and make sure their competition doesn't make it to the final.
Yeah, which sometimes maybe a little bit of a juggling act. Sometimes you got to go into the semi-final and just put it all on the line, get what you can get, and not worry too much about it. I think the more that we get into this part of the competition, the almost the less important qualifying is, because you're going to be a big pack, right? 12 cars, 18 cars in the semi-final. Sure, obviously qualifying is still fairly important, but you're going to be in and around the pack anyway. In the final, to be perfectly honest, I actually don't mean to diminish it. I don't think qualifying matters in the final. Not really. I think you can absolutely go from 9th to 1st. You're going to be in one big pack anyway, realistically speaking. Just maybe if you're in 9th, maybe you can actually avoid some of the trouble. If you're 1st, obviously you're ahead of it. It's that mid-pack where I actually don't want to be so much. But those are these are how the game changes as the evening goes on, and where maybe some teams that have struggled a little bit with qualifying speed and consistency, like 0 Point Racing, going into the final, if they can get into the final, I think they're in a great spot.
So lots of questions still to be answered by race control as they pick their way through. I say questions to be answered because we're still getting reports being submitted as well. However, having said that, race control, I think, have worked through enough of them that the teams in the semi-finals are now official. Team Nitro, 0 Point Racing, EMM, TC Esports, Vitality, and Visceral get ready to go for the penultimate time in the regular season of the 2026 Esports Racing League. Some great liveries on display, I've got to say. I love the way that some of these teams have thrown a true classic livery on this car as well. They've not just put their modern look on the car, no, instead they've adapted and adjusted to the times.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the Visceral livery actually looks great. I've got to say though, I wonder if you can. Do you know what my favourite livery of the day is going to be? What my favourite livery, or at least favourite team livery of the season even is?
Oh,
I know that if you showed all the cars to Cameron Roger, I know exactly. He would be like, bam, that one.
the McDonald's car.
No, fantastic shout though. I will be definitely going to get myself a big tasty after this bad boy. No, 92 Esports. It's got blue, it's got
yes!
lime green and stuff. Loved seeing it battling up towards the front, of course, in back on Gran Turismo. You've seen it there in the sort of steep in the background, but I can still spot it out. Love it.
It's a good shout. I've got to say, Williams F1 Team Gaming, they're another team that went with that slightly older look on this car. It looks great. The EMM Esports now, is it are we calling it a teal, a green?
It's a teal. It's a teal. I quite like the texture on it. I quite like the texture on it. There's a look at that beautiful 92 Esports car in its final race in this championship. Unfortunately, Gonzo now from it. The only thing is that on this car, you could sit there and be like, yeah, but it's not a retro, like a real retro livery. So fair play. Thomas Sim Racing, that does look like the way you look at it, right? Could you imagine that livery on this actual car racing in DTM in the middle of the 90s? Bingo! I absolutely could.
Yeah.
Thomas Sim Racing one, definitely.
But by the way, today is making me think that I have got to go to a DTM Classic to see these cars run, or this sort of car run in the real world at some point, because they are glorious. They're fantastic cars. And the second chance race, by the way, did give us a chance to kind of see what the one-on-one fights were like, as opposed to the sort of pack sort of racing NASCAR-esque that we were seeing come the quarterfinals when we sent 35 cars out through turn 1.
Yeah, right. I mean, look at this, though. This is mental towards the back. I mean, this is what this series has all been about. Getting everyone out on track, seeing what everyone can do, and this race really put it on the limit. And I really did enjoy it. I don't think race control did at all. I'm pretty sure they'll all be bald if they've all pulled their hair out, because there was probably a lot going on in there that was a little bit crazy and maybe a little bit over the limit, but it was thoroughly entertaining. The semi-final is going to be absolutely no different when it comes to its entertainment, I'm sure. And we got some great battles for the race lead. Jack Keithley, I mean, he was out of breath, right? These are 12-minute races. He was out of breath like I'd just gone and done the race for life, which might kill me, but that's fine.
Yeah, it's like you'd finish your 5K in about 20 minutes. Really had sprinted your way through that based on the exertion he had put through. Confirmation, by the way, of those penalty points should mean that Williams F1 Team Gaming's spot in the Final Four is secure. No questions about that, I think. And for TC Esports, if they can finish 4th or higher from here, their spot in the Final Four is also confirmed. And it would eliminate our defending champions, EMM Esports, from being able to defend their championship. And what a story that would be as well, Lewis, for a team that in some ways had snuck through under the radar before breaking through on the big stage as maybe the most consistent team earlier this year. To not be in the finals, they'll be disappointed.
Indeed. But unfortunately, this style of competition, when you've got all these teams, there is going to be at a bare minimum one that will be leaving this event disappointed, and let's be real, it'll probably be an awful lot more than that. Jack Keithley then back on our screens. We heard from Tomas Ribeiro, he was aiming for a 0.4, got the 0.4. Jack Keithley set a 0.1, an incredible lap time from Keithley. Can he do it again? I still think, at least here in the semi-finals, qualifying is still very, very important. First sectors coming in, and the fastest of each of what I'm seeing on my screen here, Arjuna, might be Mikael Schmidl, who is obviously at the top of the standings there on the left, 40.554 in the first sector, a couple of tenths faster than others. Jack Keithley's very close, though, with a 5.98.
Wait for second sectors to begin to trickle in now as well. So closely matched, though. We are talking 2 tenths maybe through the field in the first couple of braking zones. The fact that you've only got, 14 corners effectively, which translates into 5 braking zones or something like that, Lewis. Really does mean if you make a mistake through one of them, putting the brake down, putting the power on, really does compromise you. These drivers have been so tidy, though, through the opening sector and a bit.
They've been pushing it to the limit, though. I'm sure there's going to be a big lap time from a lot of our drivers. Keithley then moves his way basically to the head of the pack. 1 minute 34.801 across the middle sector split for Schmiedel. It's 1 minute 34.90 fast, dropping back a touch. Marcel Chinchik is flying out there at the moment. The fastest, 1 minute 34.7 up to the end of the second sector split. We're going to get the times in. They're going to come in thick and fast here. Semi-finals, Jack Keithley out towards the line. It is going to be for him a 2 minute 6.376, slower than what we know he can do. Jack Keithley up to second position, Tobias Gronewold. Isaac Price up there in fourth position, but what can Marcel Chinchik do? He's been so fast in that middle sector, up towards the line for Vitality, and he steals away pole position. Superb from Chinchik.
But is there anyone else? I think David Sobrero, he had a purple first sector at one point, may have thrown it away at the end of the lap potentially because that first and second sector was looking very good, but look at the margins, Lewis. 0.3 of a second covering the top 10.
And look at this. Vitality, 0 point, TC, Team Nitro, Visceral, EMM, then have 6th and 7th. The first double team that we have on there is EMM in 6th and 7th. Vitality, obviously 1st and 8th there. Dur Esports, obviously not for Bo Dixon. He is a 0 point driver for this round. 2nd and 9th for them. Sammy Joe Avi Narkle for Visceral Esports makes 2 of their cars inside the top. Behind that is his teammate Caracas. Darren McCormack for EMM, less than half a second off of the pole, but down in 12th position. Carlos Fenalosa for TC Esports in 13th. There's Klinkmuller, Kazavon, Sobrero, Nikola Latkovsky, and Nicholas Halban. The 18 cars all separated, all got a time onto the board here, Arjuna, all separated by less than a second. All teams, let's be honest, capable of being a top 3 team and moving into that final. As to which one it's going to be, I think you'd have better luck trying to pick who's going to win the World Cup.
No, I think I'm pretty confident. It's coming home, isn't it? It's coming to England. But
it absolutely is not. What are you talking about?
I think what we've already said is this race, because there are less cars, matters less where you've qualified. However, having said that, Lewis, we know what happens at tracks like this when you have a group at the front that recognizes that they don't need to fight too much, wait for the separation to build to those behind. Could that be the sort of story that we're in for here? These are short races, let's not forget, so some drivers might not fight too much from the drop of the green flag.
But I still think they are going to fight. They've got to get a little bit aggressive here. We are going to see some battles. We are going to see certainly 2 and 3 wide down into that opening chicane. I mean, look, we were actually surprisingly cleaner than I was expecting for the quarterfinals. So here in the semis, maybe it is going to be cleaner. They're already racing down towards that opening corner. And it is Marcel Chinchik then leading for Tobias Gronewold. Tomas Ribera in 3rd position, Jack Keithley in 4th, Isaac Price in 5th, and Jerne Simoncic in 6th position. Single file for the top 10. Basically, it's down to Caracas, where he's got Sammy Joe Abinarkle, who's going side by side with Darren McCormack directly behind. McCormack's also got Klinkmuller back into it. This is the battle for 3rd position as Gronewold snuck his way through using the slipstream and all that power to move through into the front of the field for Team Nitro.
Jerne Simoncic stuck himself up the inside and then left himself on the wrong side of the track as they exited out of that first chicane, passed by his teammate Magic Mikkel Schmiedel, but that's the benefit of having your teammate directly behind you, is only one car has been able to slip through. Look at the mess. There's no other word for it at the back of the pack as everyone picks their way through, and some big contenders. TC Esports, though, have 2 drivers down at the very tail end of the field. One of them takes the shortcut. They've got to really pick their way through this one and get up towards the front and score alongside of Jack Keithley.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, sometimes it's not looking so good, but there's 11 minutes left to go in this race, Arjuna. We've got 6 laps around here. Yes, that doesn't sound like too much, but this kind of reminds me, going back in the history books. Remember, what was it, 2015 Fontana IndyCar? I was on holiday, missed that race, came back, watched the highlight, or actually watched the full race, and was like, oh yeah, Takuma Sato, he's in 23rd position. Oh, he's leading. That was a lap feels a bit like that a little bit here. You know, like you can be running towards the back and then suddenly sneak your way through. There's a bit of 4 wide back there for last position.
And Schmiedel so sideways through turn 11 coming into this final stadium sector. Not quite sure how he's been able to hold on to 5th position. While you are right, Lewis, there's part of my brain which just can't turn off this part that's talking about TC Esports fighting with Team Nitro to not be last right now. And why is that so significant? If you don't advance from this race into the finals, where you finish relative to the other teams determines the championship points that you get. There is a very real chance TC Esports score minimum points out of this semi-final race, which would allow a golden opportunity for EMM Esports to slip through.
They cannot afford that. They want to be in the top 4. They want to be in our season finale. They want to be a part of the show, and Jack Keithley's worked so hard this evening to try and give them that opportunity. They've been so great this season as a whole. And at the moment, Jack Keithley's under pressure from Mikkel Schmiedel. He's going to get through into 4th position. EMM moving their way forward, and the big train builds behind. Isaac Price, Tobin, Simicic, Gerakas, McCormack, Dixon, Abby Narkle. They are all there over the shoulders now of Mikkel Schmiedel. The top 3 have checked away in Gronewold, Chinchik and Ribeiro. The victory you feel is going to come from one of those 3. For everyone else, they're all battling so hard. Straight into the back. That was Jerne Simicic just into the rear end of Isaac Price.
Well, they got through, although Isaac Price has lost a whole bunch of momentum as a result of that, alongside of his teammate Caracas as they hold back. Dara McCormack for the time being running down to that center curve once again. Look at the move coming from McCormack. He did not want to wait behind the teammates. Lunges to the inside. He's put himself on the wrong side of the track. That will get past one, won't get past both.
This is brutal stuff here, and like you say, there's going to be a few teams that are going to be leaving this race disappointed. The clarity as to which way this is going to go, I just don't know at the moment, with Marcel Chinchik at the moment towards the front, and Yuri Toman now up into 5th position as he battles with Jack Keithley. Mikkel Schmiedel up there in 4th position. It is Vitality that'll be going through. Oh, there's a spin! And that was Mikkel Schmiedel. He's been sent round just as I was saying that, and the chaos has really kicked in. One of the visceral cards has been off. That's Isaac Price, who's been absolutely sent. Chaos here in the midpoint of the race.
Well, turns that entire equation on the head for TC Esports, as now several drivers drop to the tail end of the field. Fortunately for EMM, as much as Schmiedel's at the tail end, Dara McCormack able to pick up the pieces right behind of Jerne Simincic, but only temporarily. McCormack off the track, rally crossing. Toman, Dixon and Latkovsky all sweep through.
I mean, that is absolutely crazy. Bo Dixon's come through into 6th position. Code Nikola Latkovsky, like you say, directly behind, with Tomas Ribeiro in his 3rd position. At the moment, at least from what I'm looking at here, it would be Vitality moving through, 0 Point moving through, and I was going to say maybe TC, but I'm not sure. I think it might be EMM, no? No, because obviously where Schmiedel is and where McCormack, no. I don't know who the 3rd team is.
Well, Simincic still 5th. So it will all depend on how McCormack's able now to put his head down in the next 6 minutes and work his way forward off of the curve. That was an interesting line for Latkovsky. Some of these curves taken so aggressively by the cars, and then others seemingly upsetting them a little bit more easily. The lights flash there momentarily, and Latkovsky's going to try and make his move.
I mean, he's going to give it a go. Obviously, teammate ahead of him, he can afford to send it in a little bit late, pass the communication on to Bo Dixon. From Latkovsky to Dixon, the 2 of them communicating between the 2 of each other, up to 6th and 7th position. Yuri Toman. As much as you can see from this side, they look like there's 3 teammates in there, but as they drift out, you can see there's black on the right-hand side of 2 of those cars. Those being Code Nikola Latkovsky and Bo Dixon. Yuri Toman, full yellow across the board for the Vitality team. There comes a sent to the inside. Nicholas Halbert straight to the inside of Darren McCormack.
5 minutes left after this. What a season it's been. McCormack, the bleeding might not be over. Down to Brero, physically shoves his way through up the inside of the first. The double right-handers makes it stick through the second as they come back around to the line. And now McCormack dropping out of contention. He's got to fight back. head down. 5 minutes left to go. But look how wide he's been going. Wonder if the tyres have been burned from underneath him.
I mean, it is absolutely crazy here. the fact they're pushing. I don't think like tyre wear is not really a problem. Overheating, like you say, is a problem. It can be a little bit getting onto the throttle and giving it a go. Oh, some darty defence there. Darren McCormack keeping Carlos Penalosa at bay. Style of defence you expect to see in these cars, I guess. There's the big slide coming in from Nicholas Albert. David Sobrero trying to get TC Esports through here. And TC Esports need the positions as much as they got Jack Keithley up there in 4th position. They need the spots. They cannot be last for this group, as you were mentioning a little bit earlier on there, Arjuna. They cannot afford that right now. Their aspirations of being a top 4 team are there. Their aspirations of being a round-winning team up on the 2 wheels. Big time there from Sobrero.
And once again, the Brems curve, we've just seen so often the drivers on the outside getting pushed out wide. You're not punished too much for cutting the course like you may be on an iRacing with a significant slowdown, but it's just clumsy. And similarly clumsy working down towards the center curve. Very awkward between TC Esports and EMM as McCormack and Fenalosa, I think that was, made their contact. More contact off the corner, Fenalosa into the wall. That's TC Esports done for the day, I think.
Yeah, I just don't. With where Sobrero is, with where Keithley is, I mean, look, I think they're scoring decent points. I just don't think it's going to be good enough. Although I will say one thing, Arjuna.
Is it between them and EMM to move into the final right now?
And there's going to be some penalties dished out here. I don't know which way it's going to go, but there is going to be penalties coming out from race control, left, right, and centre. You get a penalty, you get a penalty, you get a penalty. It's going to be like the Monaco Grand Prix and the whole pit lane. It's going to be crazy, I think, from race control. I think there's going to be a few getting penalties. It's been by far the dirtiest race so far. We've got 2 laps left to go.
Well, for now, let's try and do the math. Gronewold and Chinchik break away. Team Nitro, I think, will be scoring 10, as will Vitality Sim Racing. So I think the both of them, Lewis, we can be quite comfortably assured at this point in their progression forward. Behind them, I think it's 0 Point Racing actually in the hot seat right now. 3rd and 6th combines for 9 points there. And so both EMM and TC Esports are on the wrong side of the front 3 moving into the final and might effectively just be fighting for bragging rights right now.
Indeed. Carlos Fenalosa, after that spin coming out of the centre chicane, definitely assisted, is out of the race for TC Esports. Sobrero up to 11th position, so he has picked up 1 on Kyrikis there, so up to 11th. Bit of a half-second gap up there to Nicholas Halpern and a lap and a half to find an extra spot. The Visceral trio who started the evening with what looked to almost be a 1-2-3. They have one of those spots stripped away from them. Well, they're way down the order and definitely not moving through into the final, not unless something completely unbelievable happens. 2 minutes left to go. We are on the penultimate lap of the race. Here's the battle for the race lead. Gronewold versus Chinchik. Can Chinchik steal it away this time?
No need to make the move at the end of the day here. And Marcel Chinchik, I think, has been a quiet player today. Or maybe not so quiet, because he's been one we've talked about from not qualifying in this heat race, finding his way through the field, then such a strong effort in the quarterfinal. One mistake here at the Sachs curve on the final lap took him out of that second place spot, allowed Thomas Ribeiro to move his way forward. And Lewis, how frequently do you see a Marcel Chinchik on this platform? Because I don't think it's by any means his favoured platform, but definitely one that he's showing plenty of speed on.
To be honest, never really. I think he's done little bits. I know he's done his odd bits here and there. I think he's done DTM Esports and such. But this is definitely not Marcel Chinchik's favoured platform. But to be fair, a lot of the drivers that are favoured on this platform, as Chinchik will steal away the race lead using the slipstream here, they don't typically race this car and they don't typically race this track. So a little bit of a level playing field, I guess. Oh, up into 2 wheels there for Gronewold, and Marcel Chinchik does get through. Let's be real here. This battle is not done. They've got plenty of opportunities to go down here into the second chicane, into the centre chicane, going into the arena section, into that stadium. We're on the last lap. There's those opportunities.
Up the inside, Sebas Gronewold, not quite sure when you'd want to hold on to the inside. If you'd rather have the inside to the center curve or into the what's now known as the Mobile 1 curve, but I do get the sneaking suspicion, no matter what race control says, the three teams at the front have, for the most part, kept their noses clean. Could they be headed to the final? Some momentum hopefully on their side as well.
Potentially so. Chinchik down the inside, big slide coming in, getting the rear end locked up a little bit there for Gronewold. Grabbing the race lead. Chinchik came up short in the previous, will not want to come up short again. Obviously, it was a great battle between himself and Jack Keithley just a race ago. And he get this one to the outside of what is Mobile 1 now. Gronewold will hang on to that one from Marcel Chinchik. You're absolutely right. Cannot afford to put too much risk on the table here, can Marcel Chinchik, because they're going through at the moment into the final, looking for a second victory of the season. At the moment, though, it is Gronewold to come through this final complex, all over the place, trying to defend, trying to hang on, and it will be Team Nitro through the final corner to take victory here in the semi-final. Superb performance from Gronewold, bit of a drag race there. Marcel Chinchik and Tomas Ribeiro will round out the podium. Nitro, Vitality, and 0 Point your top three.
What I really now am looking forward to is Team Nitro ending this 2026 season on a high. 2025 was such a great campaign for them, Lewis. It's not come together this year. At least some final redemption to close the season off.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, you want to always end on a high where possible. And for what has been a bitterly disappointing season for Team Nitro, at least there is maybe a little bit of a silver lining here. They will take victory for Gronewold. It is Team Nitro running in first and 8th, scoring 9 points there, with Nicholas Halban down in 8th position. Marcel Chinchik, though, in 2nd position for Team Vitality. Tomas Ribeiro for 0 Point in 3rd. Jack Keithley for TC Esports in 4th. Yane Simicic, the EMM driver, in 5th position. Code Nikolakovsky for 0 Point, 6th place. As you were mentioning, that is 9 points for 0 Point and for Team Nitro. For Vitality, also 9 points for them, with Yuri Toman in 7th position. Darren McCormack for EMM will be in 9th position. Bo Dixon for 0 Point will be in 10th position, with Sammy Joe Abby Narkle in 11th, and Isaac Price, David Ribeiro, Karekis, Schmiedel, Klinkmuller, Casabon, and Fenalosa retiring from the race. Absolute scenes. I do think we have our three finalists. I think we are in position here. I'm sure we've got a lot for race control to deal with, though, so we will probably hold fire.
Indeed, and before that, let's try and catch up with our race winner, Tobias Gronewold. He's standing by with Lewis.
That was pretty messy behind you, Tobias. There was a lot of contact, a lot going on. Up to where you were, it was just a great fight. You managed to hang on there, keeping Marcel Chinchik at bay. What do you make of that race? What do you make of racing these cars here on RaceRoom?
Yeah, first of all, I can imagine that it was a lot of carnage behind, because I was in the pack the 2 races before that. So no, I think it's a super fun combo. I mean, with the slipstream and stuff, you can't really run away. Qualifying is not really important, I mean, technically, but sometimes, you know, people start to fight, and then they're like, 2 groups that separate from each other, and then you have no chance basically to catch up. But yeah, I mean, me and Marcel worked nicely for, let's say, the first 6 laps, and he tried at the end, but I think I covered it quite nice. So first win of the season, I'm happy.
Now, I didn't know that you've played RaceRoom a fair amount. You're on the leaderboard. You're in the top 10 on the leaderboard of the rankings in 7th spot. I didn't know that you'd done more than 100 races on RaceRoom. Obviously, you're more of an Assetto Corsa Competizione driver, at least from back in the day. So you've got your fair share of experience here on RaceRoom. What's that like been as a transition to you? Obviously, clearly a platform that you're very comfortable with, being in the top 10 of the rankings.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing DTM Esports, so we had to do the rank system to get the points. But I mean, I never touched RaceRoom before since, let's say, 3 months ago, and I must say I think it's probably one of my favorite. I mean, ACC always has a special place in my heart because we had the most success in it, and I basically started in ACC. But RaceRoom, I must say, I think it's coming very close after ACC, because it's just fun with the contact model and stuff. You can do so much, and you can play with the cars. You don't have to be that clean in driving. So I really, really enjoy RaceRoom.
a lot of drivers we think have come out of this evening with a bit of a smile on their face. Even some, obviously, that don't have so much experience on this platform. Part of that will be, like you say, the contact model, how they race, the netcode and such. I'm sure part of that comes down to this car-track combo. A lot of people complaining about the track, a lot of slipstream and stuff, but the car and this combo, it seems to just click and to gel, and it's provided some great racing.
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's a lot of times that you tend to, like, you do qualifying and then it's basically one train. There might be some battling, but I think this is something really special. I think 4 years ago we had it once in R Factor 2. Like, we had I think it was on Daytona, we had a NASCAR, I think, and it was the same thing. A lot of slipstream. You know, you could really fight. You could really fight your way to the front. You had to be smart in the race, and I think that's just what's super exciting for us drivers. I mean, not always if you get if you fall down the order, but I think also for the people watching, I think it's really entertaining.
Certainly has been for me and Arjuna. We've certainly enjoyed ourselves thus far, and I'm looking forward to a very exciting final here, Tobias. Good luck, best luck. I'm sure it's going to be a very different style of race.
Yeah, we will see. Hopefully we're in, so yeah, let's see.
We'll see. Hands in the control of race control at the moment. Tobias, thank you. Good luck. We'll chat to you in a bit. There we go, Arjuna. And yeah, I mean, it is in the hands of race control, isn't it?
Well, and as I was saying, I think in that race, I don't think there's much for Team Nitro in particular to be worried about from Race Control's review. For Vitality and 0 Point as well, don't know. So I think we're pretty much expecting those three teams to be in our finals, and EMM Esports, TC Esports to unfortunately miss out, which does mean that no matter what happens, if they both miss out on the finals, then our defending champions will not be competing in our Final Four, and TC Esports will be there. We'll get a new champion in 2026. But the big shock, Visceral Esports, who would be DFL, dead last in the semi-finals after showing us all that potential at the start of the day. And Lewis, I think they were the ones that got tangled up in those incidents, and really don't think we could blame them too much.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a surprise, isn't it? When you've got the 36-car quarter-final, you go to an 18-car semi-final. The semi-final ends up being messy, and certainly messier than any of the races we've had so far today. Kind of get it. You get in towards the sharp end. Everyone's battling tooth and nail. Visceral definitely just got on the wrong side of it. They obviously had the pace. They were obviously there or thereabouts. And if there's one thing that we can say here, Arjuna, that of the 6 teams that were in that semi-final, all 6 of them have the pace and potential to go on and win this evening. That is how close it is at this top end of the Esports Racing League. And I mean, we're all here for it. We're going to have 3 quality teams in there. We're going to have 3 quality teams missing out. That's just how it goes.
One final race, but before then, Lewis, walk us through some of the highlights of the semi-finals.
Highlights from an epic semi-final that we're seeing a great fight toward the front. Tobias Gronewold battling with Marcel Chinchik. Plenty of fights further back as everyone wrestling over the final few positions to try and be one of the top 3 teams to move through. TC Esports on the outside looking in. Jack Keithley was trying to put everything on the table to do so. And Mikael Schmiedel sent around in all of that. One of the EMM cars dropping down the order. The fisticuffs were very much out further down the field as they were all trying to navigate these midfield positions, the back-end positions. Visceral caught up in that despite their dominant performance earlier on. Carlos Fenalosa was sent around. Meanwhile, the battle for the race lead. Tobias Gronewold, Marcel Chinchik leaving it all on the line. Chinchik taking over the race lead. Gronewold stealing it back and trying to hold it all the way to the checkered flag. It was incredibly close up towards the line, but it would be the Team Nitro man ahead of Vitality at the line.
And while we wait for final race control decisions on all sorts of incidents, not expecting much change because 5 penalty points would be needed for Nitro, Vitality Sim Racing and 0 Point Racing. Already 1 penalty point for TC Esports, but we'll wait to see if there's any shake-up in this. Hearing from Tobias Gronewold, it was good to get a chance to hear from a team whose season has been maybe strife with misfortune, but the last couple of rounds have really shown us the potential of the team, and I have no doubt they will be hoping for another season in which they can continue to show us their fine metal. And I guess we can take the time as we wait for race control to work through all that they need to, Lewis. We can talk about future seasons and what we would maybe want to see. We've already talked about our number one wish at the end of the day.
Yeah, been off practice, like I say.
Exactly.
Last minute everything. Lastminute.com.
Pick and ban 1 hour before at the very earliest. 15 minutes before maybe is more appropriate. I think Gran Turismo was one of the great things that we did to shake up the driver pool. Right now, your team roster of 5 has got to have console drivers as well. Live for Speed was interesting because we saw some of the veterans really go back to their old original throwback to when they jumped into the world of sim racing. But where do we go from here? What other platforms do we want to introduce? And I'm mainly bringing this up. No, I've gone away from Mario Kart because now I want to add Forza Horizon 6.
Yeah, I mean, Forza Horizon 6 would be a classic one. I've been giving it a go as well, throwing some cars around. I am terrible at drifting, by the way, so that's always a bit of entertainment. Yeah, obviously, like I say, I think there's kind of a bit like Forza Horizon. I think is on the cusp of maybe being a little too arcadey.
See, but that's the fun in it. Is we basically, instead of doing formal races, my idea is we'd say start at one point, and you've got to get to another point on the map as quickly as you can. Choose whatever route you want.
Oh,
yeah,
now
exactly.
What's that called in it?
Trailblazer.
Trailblazer. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So it's basically the ERL Trailblazer competition. Which, do you know what? Sign me up.
And then we can do round 2 on Richard Burns Rally. We'll get Peter Mackay to join us for that one.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure what other games that you can do. What was that game called? The one with the big map? The awful game.
Oh, the Crew Motorfest.
No. Way early than that, like mid 2000s. Had one of the biggest maps. I think it's called like Fuel or something like that. The epitome
I can't think of it.
Mid 2000s games where everything was a horrible tinge of grey and brown because colour hadn't been invented, clearly. But the map was enormous.
Fuel 2009.
And full of, let me tell you, absolutely nothing interesting. It was tragic.
It was 14,400 square kilometers.
Yeah. Full of nothing.
Yeah. Oh, of nothing. That's what the Reddit comments I'm reading right now are. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll exclude that one from the equation.
Okay.
Mario Kart, yes or no? Are we on board or no?
Well, for Trailblazer, no.
True. Okay, we're focusing on Trailblazer.
We're focusing on Trailblazer. To be fair, I would say the Crew too, but have they absolutely dropped the servers on that yet, or what's the deal?
No. We can still do that. It's only the Crew 1 that they've killed off the servers
Rest
for.
In peace. We salute you for your service.
Well, I'm just trying to think what's the most unusual game that we can throw into the mix here. The new 007 game, it's got a driving sequence. Maybe we'll find a way to challenge the drivers.
There's no way of shortening it. Well, not really, majorly anyway. I've tried, trust me. I have binned some of the cars in that game hard trying to find some exploits. But
have you seen the new Crazy Taxi game they're coming up with?
I have seen the new Crazy Taxi game that they're coming out with.
There we go.
Yeah, I mean, look, you got to think of 5 games here, and we've got to think of one for a season finale. I remember on R Factor 1, there was the what's the Las Vegas in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas called? Las Venturas?
Oh, something like that. Yeah.
So someone had ported that into R Factor 1. I remember that from back in
really?
the day. And we used the Jumping Trucks Stadium Super Trucks, and we played tag.
Oh, yes.
Probably one of the most entertaining race or driving related thing I've ever done in sim racing. Hilarious.
Right. You've just given me an idea. Mount Washington on iRacing.
Yeah.
Down the hill.
Yeah.
In a car which has got no power, because now on iRacing you can take power away, can't you?
Yeah.
Can you? I don't know if you can go all the way down to 0, but let's literally see who can go down the hill the fastest in an Audi TCR. Why not? I'm just coming with bad ideas right now.
Can we turn brakes off?
Oh, that.
So it's literally soapbox.
That would be genius.
See who can actually get the first. Unfortunately, everyone will just crash the same corner, I'm sure. But It'll be a bit of fun. Why not? I like the sound of it. We've got to be trying some different things. That's not just removing practice from everyone.
No.
But, it's fine.
No, and so I think we could actually do a Richard Burns rally round. I think that's a serious consideration. I know the Horizon one's probably a little less serious if we're being completely realistic
RBR
there.
would be great.
RBR, I think it really would be, and I don't
know how we get it to work though.
Oh no, you can get that to work. We'll get Iku Merakala in here, and he's run stuff with the Finnish sim racing community in the past. Get all the drivers to stream their stages. It would be really fun. You could even send them off on like a schedule if you wanted to, and like do it like a proper rally, or do them all at once depending on how you wanted to. The thing that would be unique about rally though is I know a lot of our drivers enjoy rallying, like going off and doing it in their spare time. How many of them are actually good? You mentioned Sammy Joe as a rally esports driver. He'd be one of the few that I would think instantly would be like, yeah, he'd be right on the money.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones. I don't know how much experience he's got in. I would be amazed if it was none. Obviously, I think it's probably a lot. I know he's got a lot of experience in like the what's the company that made the WRC games before EA Sports did their one? Milestone, yeah.
Oh, those games weren't bad, by the way. WRC 10, good game.
Yeah, they underrated, seriously underrated. I actually think EA Sports WRC is fine, but they obviously did one and then just like, yeah, cool, and I'm just not going to bother with it anymore. It's like, brilliant, sweet. Love that for the license. We do have some good rally games. The only problem is that every time a rally game comes out, rally games have this very unfortunate situation where they are always compared to Richard Burns Rally, right? And anyone who sits there and goes, why are we comparing it to a 20-year-old game, and blah, blah, and like, you have not tried it. Yeah. Go and try it, and then you'll be like, right, this is why. And I don't mean try it in like try and set it up and then go, oh, nothing works, I can't be bothered. Try it up until the point where you've got a car on a stage and it actually feels good, because the force feedback is unlike anything else. It is
even today
crazy good.
Yeah, no, even today the force feedback stands up. Not just that, the experience stands up as well. Like in the sim, driving to the stop point and all of that is done really well as well. So that's something cool. Just looking at the FIA Esports Global Rally Tour leaderboards, one of the new things in 2026 run on Assetto Corsa Rally. Sammy Joe Abernathy. Sorry?
I haven't played yet.
Oh, I haven't touched it either. I don't have a rig though, so that's also part of my challenge. But he 608.832, number one on the leaderboard, almost a full second clear, Lewis, than anybody else. And some of these names that I'm looking at, Tommy Hallman, former iRacing Rallycross World Championship driver, who's done some real-world Rallycross as well. Tommy Mäkinen, he's not the Tommy Mäkinen you're thinking of. He's the sim racing Tommy Mäkinen, but he's pretty good too. Quintin Dallomo, Jarno Leskinen. These are all very experienced drivers, and a full second is basically like a tenth of a second around a road course, right? So it's remarkable that margin he's been able to put out there.
Do you want to know what my reasoning always for not playing AC Rally is?
What is it?
This is my only wheel.
That's a pathetic excuse.
It's not a pathetic excuse. Do you understand how hard it is to drift? Use it with a non-round rim. The rim.
If you're driving a classic rally car, I would agree with you. However, a modern rally car has about 450 degrees of rotation.
Yeah.
So you could get away with it.
Yeah, but you got to sometimes you got to take one hand off the wheel and launch it in.
If Bobby Zelensky can race in the iRacing Rallycross World Championship with a Formula rim, you can play a rally game with a Formula rim.
Do you know what though? This might come as a bit of a shock to you.
You're not Bobby Zelensky.
I am not, in fact, Bobby Zelensky. So that excuse is nullified immediately. I can just about handle doing like touring car racing on it, but like honestly, drifting without a round rim on Forza Horizon 6 is a nightmare. And it is what it is. Have Race Control got it finalized? Is the podcast over?
No, I think mostly finalized, at least incidents involving the top three. So Nitro, Vitality, and 0 Point officially clear of any race control review for the semi-finals. Do note, EMM Esports pick up a couple more penalty points relative to the last time we looked at this, although still in front of TC Esports. But we say goodbye to EMM, TC, and Visceral. Although for TC and for Visceral, their spot in the final awaits in a couple of weeks' time. We know Vitality will join them. We know Williams F1 Team Gaming will join them. Only question left to answer is who is the final winner in the 2026 regular season?
Well, hopefully, the final winner will be the fans. Hopefully, it's the fans, Arjuna. We do have a long time, realistically, to wait. I mean, you say a couple of weeks there, but what is it? Isn't it like the 18th of July? Is our finale?
It's 5 weeks, all right?
Yes, that's a few weeks. Isn't it fun? This competition has the break that is the entire length of the World Cup, as if Florian didn't want to make the same mistake as 4 years ago by putting a 9-hour race right slap bang over the middle of probably the greatest World Cup final there has ever been.
And I got to watch the fun part of it.
Yeah,
just making sure I mentioned that. You and Luke Rain covered.
Did Luke? I can't remember who got.
Was
the
it
first
Luke or
part.
you?
I feel I got the second part. No, I don't think I did. I think I got the first part. I think Luke got the second part because I remember looking back on Mbappe's goal thinking, "Whoa!"
You mean first half and second half, and then I got extra time, didn't I?
Yeah, correct. Extra time and penos.
Oh, it was great. Look, and I didn't even plan it like that as well. It was just remarkable. We at least finished this regular season off on the day that the World Cup starts, and we'll pick back up the day after the World Cup ends, when it comes home, right? That's where it's going.
Well, I think it's day before. Look, it might be coming home. I think if the bookie's favourite, isn't it Spain or France? I think it's Spain at the moment is the bookie's favourite. I don't know. There's the stat that no team has won the World Cup with a manager from a different country. So we already lose when it comes to that. Not that I have any problem with Thomas Tuchel. I think great manager for us. But is it coming home? Probably. I have more likelihood of getting to the end of the week without eating a pizza than it coming home, and I've got one in the freezer. So read into that what you will.
Qualifying about to begin in earnest as the drivers exit through the final corner, power to the line, and the clock begins to tick away. First sector includes the fast right-hander and then the opening chicane, but a bit of a breath between the two of them. Already, as Nicholas Halban invalidated the qualifying lap, might just have been a moment as he built up to cross the line to get underway.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it probably was more that. The fact that his sector times have now come in, as in they've gone blank. That's a good thing. The moment they go red from this point on, that is the problem. First sector coming in from Marcel Chinchik, although is how... No, I think Albon is still going out. We'll update you in a second. First sector split just after the chicane hit. Marcel Chinchik up towards it. Those first sectors coming in. 40.577 for Yuri Toman, 5.30 for Tobias Gronewold, Marcel Chinchik, 5.23, the fastest of the lot of them. You are right, Nicholas Halban is not on circuit. He has bailed from his lap.
So one already waits in the wings for qualifying to come to an end, but if you were going to scratch in qualifying in any race, this is probably the one where it's going to have the least consequence. Into Sector 2. Effectively just a couple of chicanes to navigate through here, but important to get onto the brakes nicely, roll the momentum through without clattering the curbs too aggressively and robbing yourself of the momentum, and then get down and power through. Chinchik not very happy with that, and he's invalidated the lap, and you can see the frustration.
Wow. I mean, look, if there is a lap to invalidate, we've said it earlier, this one's not a bad one. Normally we speak of the final, you think this is the lap you cannot invalidate. Because of how the racing's been round here, I think this is probably the least important lap of the night for a lot of these drivers. Not trying to take away pole position, you obviously love to be on pole. And that at the moment is leading its way towards Tobias Gronewold, 34.698 through that middle sector. Here comes Toman.
To the line, the first of what will be 8 times on the board. 2:06 is the benchmark initially laid down. Tobias Gronewold a full 0.3 of a second clear. Thomas Ribeiro goes second. It's 0 Point Racing second and third. Could they be taking the challenge to Team Nitro, as Marcel Cinczyk and Nicholas Halben have got some work to do from the tail end of the grid?
Unbelievable lap there from Tobias Gronewold, 206.1, up there with what Keithley did back in the quarterfinal. Fantastic lap from him in that one. So 206.1 match there from Gronewold, fresh off his victory. Just a few moments to go. And remember, crucially, the top 2 drivers from each team score points in this race. For Team Nitro and 0 Point, that means that they are level on points. The tiebreaker will be the, well, for 1, penalty points, and then for 2, highest placed driver, which at the moment would be Gronewold.
Now we just wait to get underway. Love this format, by the way, because especially around this track with this car, 3 teams instead of 2 makes the decisions, the racecraft, ratchet up to another level. There is Ribeiro ready to go. His teammate Latkovsky, he's ready to build some Lego after this as well.
Yeah, he does. He has the Lego Speed Racing Mercedes. Fair enough. Not quite as cool as the Porsche I know you have, because I have one. Simple as that. They're pretty. Look, we all love a little bit of a Lego car. I don't think that's there to be built though. I think that's there for display, which I always think is like.
Exactly.
Is it already built somewhere else?
That's why I mentioned it. But that does look like an unopened box though, so not sure.
Primo. It's going to sell for £1 billion in the future.
Tension rises. One final race of the regular season. Only one of these teams will be in action in 5 weeks' time when we settle our 2026 Esports Racing League Spring Season Champions. Who comes out on top tonight? A very slow start from the inside of the front row. Thomas Ribeiro drops behind Klinkmuller. Already Team Nitro 1 and 2 as we power out of the opening right-hander and run down to Clark Curve. Ribeiro rockets off the opening corner though, back up to second, and now snaking back and forth. All 9 cars now in this choo-choo train, running down to that first braking zone.
Let's see where we're going to head then for the race leader. It's half a second margin for Gronewold back towards Ribeiro. Back here with, we've got one of the Vitalities, Marcel Cinczyk, trying to send it down the inside there of Nicholas Halben, and does indeed. Up towards the front, Ribeiro and Klinkmuller very close there. And there will be the 0 Point driver just ahead, now trying to get his teammate through, encoding Nikola Latkovsky.
By this race starting, Vitality Sim Racing, who missed out on the final 4 in the 2025 ERL, have confirmed themselves as regular season champions. Most points on the board already, no matter what happens. Alongside Latkovsky, squeezed by Klinkmuller. Yuri Toman doesn't force the issue. Top 2 break away slightly as we stretch our legs onto the back straightaway. Tail end of the field, Marcel Cinczyk hunted down by Bo Dixon. Those are 2 teams, 2 names rather, that we know can insert themselves into the equation for their teams.
Indeed, onto the brakes, 3 wide in the background. You've got one of the Vitalities going full send. It's Yuri Toman trying to get his way through into 3rd position. The top 2 now break away by 1.1 seconds. Gronewold against Ribeiro. The fight for 3rd is on. Klinkmuller is in that spot right now. Vitality trying to steal it away one way, then back the other. The 78 of Yuri Toman back to the outside into Mobile 1. Can't quite do it. Open up the door for Cody Nikola Latkovsky to come through in the 118. Now open it up the door for 3 wide to this part. Absolutely not. Nicholas Halben was looking for it though.
I think that's the teamwork though, because he's slowing down this pack with those aggressive moves. This Halben has 2 Vitality machines now tucked in behind him. And with 1 lap complete, advantage to Team Nitro here in the finals. On RaceRoom in the Esports Racing League, the gap going to be 1.7 seconds between 2nd and 3rd positions. No move made into the fast right-hander. It's all about the exit. Power down and now sit low in the draft in front of you. The hole being punched in the air by the driver in front. Ribeiro tucked up behind Gronewold as well. Could there be a move for the lead? It would be early. And it'll be inviting these drivers behind. Here comes Latkovsky, though, pulls alongside.
Yeah, indeed. I do think that the top 2 are gone. They're no longer going to be a factor in this. It'll be between the 2 of those for some very important points. Remember, it's just 1 point per position For Tobias, Gronewold be scoring 1 point. Romero 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, obviously. And the lowest point tally will be the winner. Gronewold, obviously with Klinkmuller there in third position. Team Nitro would be the ones on top. But can Yuri Toman steal away something from Nitro here? No, he cannot. The 0 point car there of Code Nikolakovsky could be asking for a little bit of help here from his teammate Bo Dixon, who sits at the rear of the train.
Not showing the same speed, Dixon, that he has in some of the previous races. Is that just biding his time and waiting for some of these to trip over themselves? Latkovsky's through on the outside. Excuse me, that's Yuri Toman through. Latkovsky on the outside, and Niels Klinkmuller dropping Team Nitro down through proceedings. Nitro, though, have now the inside as they run up towards the center curve. Slotting back in. Latkovsky behind Halben, but still enjoying some of that tow from Yuri Toman. Into the final sector they go. Those top two well and truly gone, and as Halben takes a wild ride over the gravel and grass, drops to the tail end of the field, things getting mixed up once again.
Brutal stuff again. It's just when you see these kind of positions, you think, right, well, the top two have gone. Right, the top two have checked out. The top two are no longer a part of the fight. This is the head of the field. This is the decisive factor. This is what we're talking about when it comes to who's going to win this competition. It will come from this, less so from Gronewold and Ribeiro. Yes, their position does matter. It will be a big one for Ribeiro if he can steal away the victory. But for right now, this is the fight that really matters, because it also has Vitality in it as well, who unfortunately in this, because they're not a part of that top group, you'd say are probably destined to finish third of the bunch. Switch for third position as Yuri Toman and Klinkmuller the other way around. They were looking there, but obviously Toman's going to stay there, 3 wide behind.
And as the formerly RHG cars, now Vitality Sim Racing try and sandwich. Latkovsky doesn't quite work out. Chinchik drops in behind once again, but they're trying, doing whatever they can. They would probably hope that Ribeiro at some point is going to start to put the pressure onto Tobias Gronewold. If I'm 0 Point Racing, at some point you have to tell him to pull the pin as well. Up the inside, Latkovsky makes the move on Thibaut Casabon. Still advantage Team Nitro though. Gronewold first, Klinkmuller in second. Ribeiro's next best teammate all the way down in 5th. That's why I argue he needs to pull the pin.
Yeah, got to go some point very, very soon. Bo Dixon trying to keep Marcel Chinchik at bay, who's already been fantastic this evening, has had such a great showing and such great speed. Will get back through on the Englishman and drops down into 8th. Can't quite find his way through. It is, I think it's the second time in VCO Esports Racing League that we've had a race at the Hockenheim Ring where it's been a couple of teams, and there's a couple of teams in very, very similar liveries. It happened once with BS Competition. Who was it? No, was it Pure Sims and Apex? Might have been BS Competition and Apex. It was definitely in like the formulas. Like I think it might have been like the Formula 3 racing round here. And I swear, because it was BS, must have been BS Competition and Apex.
No, it was definitely those two, and it was the new Hockenheim Ring.
Yeah.
You are correct, because it was iRacing. I don't think it was.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Was it Formula 4 or Formula 3? One of the two, but you are very correct there. It was one of the many times that those teams have come together, literally, during races. Well, drove the teams mental as well. The atmosphere between them got a little bit heated on and off the track as well.
Yep.
5 minutes to go. Advantage Team Nitro right now, no question in my mind. Yuri Toman is once again, though, going to try and do something. Blows past Klinkmuller. Does Latkovsky make life difficult heading into the brakes of the chicane? No, Yuri Toman able to hold on.
Yeah, so at the moment, it is Tobias Gronewold, first position. Klinkmuller in 5th, meaning it's 6 points for Team Nitro. Second place for Ribeiro for 0 points. So that's 2. Latkovsky in 4th position. That's also 6 points for 0 point. It would be 9 at the moment for Vitality. On countback at present, up on the 2 wheels, and a big one indeed. On countback at present, it would go to Team Nitro. Bo Dixon was off in the background, and I think he'll just about rejoin at the back of the field.
Well, just the concertina into that chicane, Lewis. We got a up-close and personal look with the rear end of Klinkmuller's Team Nitro DTM Alfa Romeo. Allowed a little bit of space to second and third, Toman and Latkovsky. The car links now building up between them. Now 4 at the back starting to get separated out once more. A pair skipping away from them with 4 minutes left on the clock. One way then the other. Dixon's looking to try and pull his way forward, but in synchronicity, vitality around the outside, Nitro on the inside. We enter the stadium section.
Brutal stuff. But again, back to the outside, bit of wheel to wheel, bit of contact, bit of door banging. We've not seen enough of that in this final. I gotta say, the semi-final was door bang central. This has been actually pretty clean. It's allowed the top group to check away, which is a bit unfortunate. I think it would be lovely to see this all as one big group, but it is what it is. It's providing some great fighting for third on back.
And through all of this, Niels Klinkmuller has been dropped down to 6th. Advantage 0 Point Racing. 1 + 6 combines to 7 points for Team Nitro. Ribeiro and Latkovsky combined for 6, and Latkovsky has broken away from these 4 fighting at the tail end of the field. Here comes Marcel Chinchik into the grass with the left side tyres. Not quite 4 wide, but they stack it into the braking zone of the Brems curve. Sweep through. And with Niels Klinkmuller now back in front, exactly what Team Nitro needed.
Kind of what I was saying, to be honest. I said we've not had that much door banging really in this race. Suddenly Marcel Chinchik's like 4 wide. Sounds like a cracking idea, boys. And onto the grass he goes. Thankfully the all-wheel drive of this Alfa Romeo keeps it pointed in the right direction. Fantastic stuff. Straight to the outside. Team Nitro's out wide there for Nicholas Halbert. This is absolutely all over the place. And again, at the moment, it's 6 points for 0 points. 6 points for Team Nitro. If Marcel Chinchik can get through here on Klinkmuller, he'll pass the victory over to 0 Point. But obviously, Bo Dixon can do his part in this if he can find his way through himself.
The other way he can play his part, though, as we've talked about many times in the Esports Racing League, penalty points. Our race control team will be watching like a hawk, and I do have to wonder, at what point do you tell Thomas Ribeiro, look, it doesn't now matter. You go for this win. Let the others play as they are. Still, Klinkmuller holds on to 5th position. If Latkovsky is able to get past Iri Toman as well, that would be advantage 0 Point Racing as well. So many different ways that this race can still turn, and we're about to cycle on to the final lap of the regular season in this 2026 Esports Racing League season, and maybe the best race of them all so far.
Yeah, great stuff. Big slide there from the vitality of Chinchik. Bo Dixon into the rear end of him. Was trying to get his way through. Could not find his way through. At the moment, it is in the hands of Team Nitro, of Tobias Groenewold, of Klinkmuller, of Halben. But Klinkmuller must keep Chinchik, Dixon, Halben, Kazimon behind. Up for the race lead, though. It could be switched out of their hands anyway, because Tomas Ribeiro's just taken over the race lead, and that for 0 Point will be an important move. But this is going to come all the way down to the wire, as is this.
So much still left to figure out. Vitality Sim Racing, the only one of these 3 teams that will fight in 5 weeks' time for the 2026 Esports Racing League title. For Team Nitro, for 0 Point Racing, they want to end the season off on a high. Groenewold drives back to the race lead, and what a time to do it with 1.5 sectors still left to go. Whoa, Halben's overdone it. Shot straight through the corner. Left now Klinkmuller to defend as they sweep through for the final time.
This is going to be heart and mouth moments. There's going to be big stuff for the race lead, big stuff for 5th position. Here comes Tomas Ribeiro, but a big outside look from Tobias Groenewold. He did that in the previous race to take victory against Marcel Chinchik. He's
Latkovsky
doing it here.
Behind them, Lewis. Sorry, Latkovsky's gone for it on Toman as well. That was the move that I thought might actually happen on this last lap. Meanwhile, Ribeiro, Groenewold banging off one another through turn 11 for the final time. Nitro on the inside. 0 Point Racing, black and yellow on the outside. And in shades of the DTM final from 2025, a yellow machine roars up the inside, and at the Sachs curve, Thomas Ribeiro retakes the lead of this race. Behind them, Iri Toman repasses Latkovsky as well. Who wins the final race in the Esports Racing League? Thomas Ribeiro crosses the line in first. Is it enough for Team Nitro? or 0 Point Racing wait for Latkovsky and Klinkmuller? 0 Point Racing might just have done enough.
What an absolute epic hit to finish the main part of this season. Incredible stuff there for 0 Point. Said they were a team to watch out for this evening. They have been simply sensational. A great three-way fight between them, Vitality and Team Nitro. What a drive from Ribeiro to grab that victory. What a brilliant race. What a brilliant combo. RaceRoom, the Hockenheim Ring circuit, the classic one. And these Alfa Romeos, absolutely incredible.
Breathe, but only for a moment. I can't wait to chat to our drivers after that race. A 10th splits Ribeiro and Groenewold. All three teams represented on the podium. But 0 Point Racing do enough. First and fourth combines to win on RaceRoom. Behind them, Klinkmuller, Chinchik, Kazabon, Dixon, Halbin round out the results. What a race. What a format we have stumbled onto as well with this three-team final, Lewis. And a reminder of why, as much as we've got plenty of history with one-on-ones in the Esports Racing League, there's no problem with changing and mixing things up.
Yeah, look, I love this format. I love this this three-team final. I did enjoy the one-on-ones, but this three-team final, you just never know what you're going to get. And I feel 0 Point, again, worthy winners here, as would Team Nitro have been, as I'm sure would Team Vitality if they were in the right position at the right time. That's just how this goes. Yeah, of the 6 teams that were there in the quarterfinal, we've progressed through with these 3, and we've had an absolute epic here at the Hockenheim Ring. Incredible stuff. 0 Point Racing deserved victors, at least at the moment. Again, it will come down to race control, but they've got 5 points. Team Nitro have 7, and Vitality will be there with 9.
At least while we wait provisionally, our race control team might end up being rather busy in the aftermath of that particular race. While we wait for our race control team, and I've got to say a big shout out to them, alongside of the team at RaceRoom today. Lewis mentioned it, but they brought deliveries into the game for us, the team behind the scenes helping to make this event happen with server support as well. While we wait for those final decisions, let's chat with our race winner, Thomas Ribeiro. Thomas, a really fun battle to end out this regular season. I know you said that you were here just to do the job for the team, but do you at least have some fun along the way as well?
Oh yeah, for sure. We could not end it with the best way, then finish Pingulan. Just amazing. We did not put the amount of practice we wanted. We were kinda unprepared and we didn't know what to expect from this round. But yeah, it's just, I can't believe it, we just win it. It's amazing. I mean, it was a really good fight with Tobias. He played it clean. He just, yeah, hard racing. That's how it is.
Well, hard racing that we really enjoy. Talk us through the decision to sit back until those final couple of laps. Were you waiting to hear from your teammates as to where they were positioned as well, or were you just thinking there's no need to fight until those final couple of laps?
Yeah, for sure. We were building a gap, so I was just thinking I'm gonna just attack him on the final lap and that's it, because I know if I attack earlier, maybe the second to last lap, I know he's gonna attack on the last. I'm gonna be vulnerable and I wouldn't have any chance. So I just keep him. I was not expecting him to dive in some places. I was in the best position for the last corner coming to the last sector. Yeah, just we couldn't do it better. Happy for Cody. He did a very good race. He was controlling it. It just, yeah, we tried our best to keep the best result on this final round.
And I know there were some teams that weren't so excited about this track choice. Now that this event is in the books, how do you like the Hockenheim Classic layout with this DTM car? I see a bit of a smile on your face.
To be honest, when I was practicing, I hate it. It was one of the worst combos I drove in this game, I swear. the fixed setup is not made for this track. Even I don't think the car is made for this track. Just because we win it doesn't mean we like it, to be honest.
Fair enough, Thomas. Appreciate the honesty. Great job today from you and the team, and congratulations on a great drive in the final to close out the 2026 ERL.
Yeah, thank you.
Regular season in the books for Thomas Ribeiro. Provisional points still waiting for confirmation from Race Control, but I don't think much surprise here. 0 Point Racing, Team Nitro, and Vitality Sim Racing in that order. And in fact, just got official confirmation from Race Control. So we are now official, Lewis. No further actions. 0 Point Racing officially are winners on the night.
Yeah, great drive from them. I mean, an unbelievable final, really entertaining, and I'm glad that we finished the regular season on a high. Bit of disappointment, I think, from the quarterfinal race, which was a little bit mental, but in an entertaining way. I was really excited to see that RaceRoom were a part of this competition at the start of this season, and really excited to kind of see where we go from here. Great to see it. Glad that we're getting it out to some drivers that maybe didn't quite try this platform before, but you know, it's certainly a good one. Obviously, you can see their Team Nitro in second. Vitality would be in third position on that, but they will take over and be our highest point scorer. And with that, we're joined by Marcel Chinchik. He's joined us here in the comms booth. Marcel, obviously you had some great battles for victory a little bit earlier on in the day. Came up a little bit short here in the final, but at least when it comes to the overall points, making amends of last season really, and ending this regular season as top dog.
Yeah, hello guys. Thank you so much. It's amazing to be here as always. Yeah, I mean, it was pretty fun, and we practiced professionally as we would do normally, but overall we kind of considered for fun, and the wall, I think the wall combo was really great, like the car and the truck. It was really great for fighting, and enjoyed it a lot, and pretty happy for the result also. I didn't really expect it. I don't really wanna like underputting myself, let's say, but didn't really expect that we're gonna do this good in the whole season. But actually worked out really good, and I'm really happy for it.
What was it like? Yeah, let's be real. Looking back to the end of last season, where you'd had great speed and great consistency. You'd come into the season really as one of the expectant favourites to be one of the top 4 teams, and it was a struggle of a season, right? How do you depart that, come into this season, and be so consistently strong? Obviously, there was that victory on Gran Turismo, but even outside of it, there's just been a lot more consistency from the team.
I think it helped a lot that the first round happened pretty good for us. Like we finished 5th or 6th on the first round. So I think because in the previous season the problem probably started already there. So we started pretty bad the season, and after that it was hard to come back. But we were always around this top 5. And then the Gran Turismo guys won their round, and we got up to like already P1, I think, at that point, and we're just maintaining this position. So I think overall, we were this time we weren't really unlucky. Last season I remember it was pretty unlucky some races, and a little bit frustrating because some incidents weren't happening in the way which would favor us. So, and this time I think we weren't really like super lucky, but it was just kind of normal. So, and overall we have a good pace, I think, and it was great to see that we could show it again one more time here.
Well, obviously, pass on the congratulations to Yuri, to Thibaut, and to the rest of the team. Superb season, regular season winners. Vitality, thank you, Marcel.
Thank you so much, guys.
Well, Lewis, our regular season done and dusted. Vitality Sim Racing, Visceral Esports, Williams F1 Team Gaming, and TC Esports 5 weeks from, not today, but in 5 weeks' time on the weekend, they will go battle for the 2026 Esports Racing League crown. Of course, our defending champions watching on from the sidelines. Let's catch up with some of the highlights, though, of the last race of the regular season. Team Nitro led the way as Thomas Ribeiro didn't get off the line the best, but then out through turns 1 and 2, fought his way back to latch onto the tail end of the Team Nitro breakaway at the front of the field. Slowly but surely, as we worked our way through the 12-odd minutes of racing and the laps ticked away, the lead group continued to break away courtesy of some great racing. Yuri Toman able to pick his way to the front of the queue, and then eventually followed by Cody Nikolakowski as well. 3rd and 4th able to separate themselves out, all as Niels Klinkmuller and Nicholas Halben for Team Nitro tried to get the elbows out and make their Alfa Romeos as wide as possible on the long blast through the forest here at the throwback Hockenheim ring. That fight behind for 5th, 6th and 7th saw some 3 wide when Marcel Cinchik foot to the floor, left sides into the grass, but up front, after being patient, Thomas Ribeiro would pounce and sweep into the race lead. Took 2 bites at the apple, but then a forceful move at the Sachs curve got it done. And with that move, 0 Point Racing on the final round of the Esports Racing League regular season. An up and down season for some teams, 0 Point Racing amongst them as well. They finish inside of the top 10 in the championship standings, but only 4 teams now fight in 5 weeks' time.
Yes, competition. Sad to see them go. Our champions at EMM, Team Nitro, who obviously have been fantastic. 0 Point Racing, 10th position there. They were never getting through into the final, unfortunately, coming into it. And the fact that they got up there and won the round, I'm just happy, Arjuna, that I can sit back and say that I was right, because I called that right at the start of the season. Thank you.
You did, actually, to be fair. You said come RaceRoom, they'd be the ones to watch, and your prediction was right there. For BS Plus competition, their 1 penalty point wasn't really the determining factor. BS Plus competition, their 1 penalty point wasn't really the determining factor. For EMM Esports, their 12 penalty points, without a shadow of a doubt. The main thing they will reflect on through the season, but a worthy champion in 2025, and I have no doubt they'll be back for the next season of the Esports Racing League. Lewis, what fun we've had in the last 4 events. Can't wait to do it with you in 5 weeks' time when we return for our season finale, the Final 4 showdown. Still some details about the format to be worked through, but we know the challenge will be there for the drivers to rise to the occasion and see who is to earn those championship belts here in the Esports Racing League. For our team behind the scenes at VCO Esports and at RaceSpot, Lewis McLeod, Arjuna Kangipati, thanking you for your company. We'll see you on the 18th of July for our Final 4, the Esports Racing League belts on the line.